look, if they can't give up the kidney, they'll give us something else.
And
Or if they have nothing,
choice.
if they have nothing, let's say they're a drug addict and their organs are all fucked up. Well, then, hey, they have nothing to give. They got to work off their sentence.
Okay, but this isn't donating body parts. This is donating like organs. This is
well, body parts and organs are
kind
of overlap there.
I would say these people should be able to like donate or like give skin grafts, right? Like give chunks of their skin to burn victims.
That's an
in
organ.
exchange for time off their sentence.
It is an organ.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
what's your point?
And just, oh my God, Scott! Just because something an organ's a body part doesn't mean body parts are organs. We are simply discussing organs. We're not discussing like chopping off your finger and giving it to somebody.
Although you can't.
The principle is the same. Like, what are you talking about? The principle's the same.
I think you should give something of your body.
But that's not what we're discussing, though.
They are.
Okay.
You can make a glory hole out of my asshole after I'm done. That's my fervent wish.
It's first user. If you don't have a will and you have no family, you have no next of kin, then the first person to come into contact with your body that says, I want it.
Well, what if you say
all of you are actually okay with the finders keepers things for bodies, but you just have a longer time period on it.
In Massachusetts, a bill has been proposed which would allow prisoners to shorten their sentences by donating organs. There has been a lot of backlash against the idea, as some feel like this puts coercive pressure on incarcerated people. But this would indeed help deal with the backlog of those desperately waiting for organs. Are you in favor of this bill? Whether you agree with the specific wording of this bill, are you in favor of the principle? Should prisons specifically ban such a practice so that even if a prisoner decides to do this on their own, they'd be denied? Or should we let prisoners have the ultimate decision on this bodily decision? So yeah, this was a fascinating one. I just stumbled upon this yesterday. And wow, we've talked about the idea of like selling organs on this panel a few times actually, because it's one of my favorite topics, honestly. And this has all kinds of like interesting like intersections. And I'm curious if the battle lines aren't as clear as they usually are here, but because of the very the specifics of this topic. So I'm excited to jump in. Let's start with our friend Lacto.
In reading it, I think I'm leaning towards supporting it actually as it is. But in principle, I mean, obviously there's some improvements, but on principle, my theory of justice here holds three values paramount, which is restoration, rehabilitation, and deterrence. We want to make the victim of a crime as whole as possible, and we want to minimize the risk of a crime to the public if the person's already done it. Having prisoners work off debt to their victim makes sense for all of these goals. Selling organs, while may not be effective for rehabilitation or deterrence, could be effective towards restitution. If prisoners wanted to sell their organs to willing buyers to obtain the money to help pay off the victims that they victimized, I would be all right with that, right? Their body, their choice. You're giving people a choice about their own body where otherwise there wouldn't be one. This isn't wrong, and I can't think of any example where it could be wrong. The one caveat I will put is, although I am in favor of forcing prisoners to work, I am not in favor of forcing them to donate organs, given the risk of innocence and also the risk of death.
I'll have to say that for the panel. But thank you for that, Lactoid. Let's go to Scott, please.
So, as a real libertarian over here, right? I only care about two things in justice. All right, that is restoration and restitution. Right? If someone, in principle, this is a great bill, right? It allows people to sell their organs in an open market voluntarily, which isn't something you need even do. Especially if someone murdered someone, you can harvest their organs. It doesn't fucking matter. They can't argue for human rights. They have no human rights until they pay restitution, which would include their life. That being said, if someone, let's say, robbed someone or did something bad, if you were to force them to do this, then you might accidentally kill them, and therefore you would become the criminal, right? Because you forced them to do something that ended in a loss of life, and you would be the one forced to pay restitution. So in principle, I kind of like the idea. The problem is the bill itself and the corporate state entities that are working with it. WellPath, which is formerly Correct Care Solutions, is a horrible fucking corporation run by fucking monsters that are shielded by the state by working under a pseudo-monopolistic entity, and they're not engaged in the market. Jorge Dominicus is someone that has spent his entire life working with NGOs and different political affiliations, using regulatory capture to be able to gain tons of money from your tax dollars. This company is constantly being sued for their mistreatment of prisoners. Now, of course, it's WellPath now, but let's be honest, it's the same fucking company as CCS. Also, who's one of the co-chair people is Patrick Kennedy. You have fucking Ted Kennedy's fucking kid, sitting on the fucking board, working all of his fucking connections to make sure that they don't face litigation and crime and things like that. And then the former CEO of this company recently was just sent to jail for 3 years for mail fraud and for blackmailing people and giving out like dole outs so that like sheriff's departments wouldn't investigate the evil shit they're doing. So like the company that stands to benefit from this is fucking horrible. So nobody should support that bill until we have like an open market. But in principle, yeah, if someone murders somebody, I don't give a fuck. Harvest their organs against their will. If someone robs somebody, they absolutely should be able to have the option to sell a kidney so that they can pay restitution to the victims that they did, because it's the only logical way that they can re-enter society and argue for the non-aggression principle.
Thank you, Scott. Corey.
Yeah. So, I would say, I think this question or prompt presumes that I agree with the current like U.S. justice / like prison system, which I don't, but I will take it as is. And I'm gonna in typical, I guess, Corey fashion, I'm gonna sidestep a little bit. In terms of like this article alludes to the organ shortage, and that one way to address the organ shortage is like through the bill like this. And I would say to solve or like at least to ameliorate some of the organ shortage, we should stop overly respecting the dead. If you die, we should harvest your organs. I don't care what your wishes are after you die. So all that to say, based off how this bill is described in the article, I'm against it, and I think it's coercive. And also add to the fact, I think Lactoid alluded to it, there's some percentage of people in prison that are innocent. I don't know what that is, but I'm hoping it's a very small percentage. And I don't want an innocent person to have to sell their organ to get out of prison. But basically, to solve the overarching real problem of the organ shortage, we should just harvest your organs when you're dead.
Let's go to Ginger.
Well, I'd say that the issue with it is the incentive is too high, and it pushes people to do something that they necessarily wouldn't do otherwise. There's a like Corey said, there's a lot of people in prison. Not obviously not the majority, but there's a lot of people in prison who are there because the law sucks, and not to mention, it seems like a way to kind of diminish them even more than they already are. Now, I do believe in them being, punished for their crimes as far as being in jail. But maybe we could incentivize, instead of a lighter sentence, maybe some extra things in prison, like a smaller incentive, like maybe give them more outside time, or and like make it level up to where, or maybe they give them a lot of money for their goods inside jail or something like that, but not freedom. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous, and it's too incentivizing. Like, who does it not work for then?
I can't wait till we get to the open panel. This is gonna be a fun one. This is gonna be a really fun one, I think. Nina.
Sorry, I was on the wrong one. I unmuted the other thing. It seems pretty clear to me that some of you guys did not read all the information that we were given. It is illegal to sell an organ for money. That's not what's happening. That's not what this bill does. What this bill does is it's saying that you can get up to a year taken off and at minimum 60 days. That's not a huge incentive. That doesn't really matter. What the problem with this bill is that obviously it is inherently coercive for a significant amount of reasons. I want to rebuttal to all of you guys' points, but let me just get through mine real quick. I think it's inherently discriminatory because if you were going to provide the option to get a year off, if you have, you give a kidney or something, what does that say to somebody who does not have 2 kidneys? They can't give their kidney, right?
Don't care.
We've actually already tried this. I don't know if you guys knew this. We've tried this before. We have a lot of bills that we've gone, which is why we have a lot of research on this, with the death sentence. They were actually kind of proposing the exact same ideas in different states here and there with the death sentence. And the reason why that didn't make sense in that context is because then potential jurors would look at it completely different based off of, if their organs are going to be helpful or not. And on that note, if we're talking about death sentences and like getting the organs that, I'm sorry, I think Scott had said this, or maybe it was Corey. I don't remember. About the idea of like
insulted.
No. Hold on, let me fit. About like harvesting the organs of executed people, and not like loving or not having such reverie for life. I think that was you, Corey, that said that.
Reverie for dead. I revere the
dead,
living.
Sorry. Yes, dead. China actually has been doing this for a while, and it turns out that it tends to target marginalized communities like Uyghurs, for example, to have more harsh sentences because there is a organ black market in China that is incentivized because they do sell it, which in America, we actually have a very robust system to make sure that that does not happen here. And I know I'm going on a little bit long here, but I just wanted to address those points. Hold on, I scrolled a little bit too far in my article here. Also, I don't think that the idea of being able to give bone marrow and give an organ, like, these are not like easy processes to do. Like, if you're giving bone marrow, it takes like a week to get back to normal. And like up to a month to get like okay, and then like a month to get back to normal, potentially. And these things are not like, we're not like living in a great system if you're in jail, right? Like, I think we could all agree that the fucking jail system is fucking terrible. Like, if you want to see about shit that like they did with COVID and stuff like that, the healthcare in prisons are atrocious. So I don't think that is at all ethical by any means. To say like, if this is ever going to be reasonable, I think like also a year for giving up a kidney is really silly in terms of like, it doesn't seem that it all matches, let alone the idea that it is insanely coercive and it is illegal to sell your kidney even if it was something outside. So that's not something that would ever happen. What I would agree with this is my final point, is that I don't think that it should be banned as a practice, because I think if you want to give up your kidney to maybe like your family member or something, I think that is totally fine, totally acceptable. But I don't think you should be incentivized to do it with like a year off your prison sentence. And then I will go ahead and pass it on.
Thank you so much. Aiko.
Yeah, I was going to make a similar point, except the example I wanted to put forward was disenfranchising, like the felony disenfranchisement. Because if you were to look at that on the surface, and if you were to ask, and this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to talk about that particular topic, is if you were to look at it on the surface, you would think, a lot of people would think to themselves, well, it makes sense that you give up certain rights if you commit certain crimes. Until you realize the perverse incentives that come along with it, right? Especially like in Florida under Jim Crow, the first thing they did was make it so that you lose your right to vote if you're a felon, and then they went around arresting as many black people for petty drug crimes as they could, turning them into felonies. Because there was there was a desire for this thing, which was the direction of the vote as they wanted it in certain states.
I'll be right back, boys. I got to take a leak.
They incentivized increased terms. I think here too, if you can address a real shortage, a real need for organs, which saves lives. To be fair, like one can understand why it's tempting. You can then understand how that would incentivize capturing more people and putting them in prison so that you'll have a larger number of people who are willing to donate their organs in order to get back out of prison. And it's that perverse incentive, especially in the private prison system, which Fabian pointed out some of the flaws in that, makes that whole entire thing just unworkable.
Okay. Counter points.
I don't think Fabian's problem with the fucking prison system is that it's private. But anyways, I'm with the people who are anti this thing for the ethical reasons. The only base thing I heard is and by the way, like I have a whole like death penalty thing. Basically, you have to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt for capital punishment. That would be my ideal system, and then I would keep capital punishment, and I would murder the fuck out of people. So, for instance, like Nicholas Cruz or whatever, the guy from Florida who did that mass shooting, that dude should be drawn and quartered in the public square. But anyways, and then his organs should be given to healthy or unhealthy people who need that assistance. But
his quartered organs.
Yeah, remove them before he's drawn and quartered and somehow keep him alive. I don't care. But the point being that, like, the ethical concerns alarm me, and especially China being brought up as an example. Like, it's a fucking horror show in China. Like, literally the body exhibit or whatever, like I had a feeling that it was pretty fucked up. And the body exhibit that was like touring around the country for a while, it's pretty cool until you look at everybody and you're like, oh, these are Chinese males in their 30s. How many of them died from natural causes versus signed up to being fucking donated to this shit? And so it gets really fucking sketchy really fast. So I think there's too many perverse incentives. That being said, I would be okay with if somebody signs up to be an organ donor but doesn't go through the process itself. Maybe they get 30 days off or 60 days off. That way it's not something that they have to do immediately. It just means that if they get into a car accident, once they're freed, they just get a little bit of time off or whatever. And then also like a non-important function, like a healthy kidney or whatever, I wouldn't give a shit if you got a year off for that. I think that's fine. And as compared to lungs or skin or some shit like that, I just think there's such a perverse incentive to be like, well, do I want to be disfigured or, and lose like skin on my arm for skin grafts, or do I want to get out in a year? I think that's fucked up. And then finally, I'm absolutely against trading vital organs or non-vital organs for basically commissary, because then what's going to happen is a bunch of dumb fuck sub 80 IQ motherfuckers are going to be like, I would absolutely kill for a fucking honey bun. I would give up my fucking left nut for a kidney, for a honey bun. And then they'd be like, "Oh, really? Well, sign this paper, and we'll take your left nut for a fucking honey bun." Well, there's a lot of dumb people in jail and prison, so I don't know if that's ethically correct. Taking the left testicles of dumb people for honey buns. But anyways, I'll leave it there.
Honey buns are fucking mean. Okay, a good honey bun is just life changing.
I was about to say that's
like
that's jail primo food.
We don't want them having kids anyway, so.
Oh boy!
I
remove
my
both
previous
testicles.
statement.
Two honey buns.
You know what? They won. I'm on the other side again. Never mind.
And our friend Doobie, please.
I agree with, I think everything Scott said. Yeah, I don't care that this is coercive. I think it's fine. I think these people should be coerced. Right? This is their pound of flesh that they have the option to pay, right? If they'd like to get a reduced sentence, right? They fucked up. They harm society. They harm their community. So yeah, if they're gonna trade a kidney or their fucking fingers or whatever the fuck it is for some time off that sentence, I think it's totally reasonable to give them that option. And to be super clear, I think people should absolutely be able to sell all their organs if they want to. That makes total sense. I know it's illegal right now, but I think it shouldn't be illegal. I think the fact that it's illegal is actually discriminatory. I think that there are plenty of poor people there who would sell a kidney, who would give up drinking for the rest of their life for a chance out of the fucking ghetto.
So Nina, did he win you over?
You're such a fucking capitalist piece of shit.
So
Yeah.
Nina,
So sad.
are you still honored to meet Doobie? The
No,
No,
honor all
I'm not
yours?
anymore. I'm
Look,
disgraced.
you'll get there
to me.
eventually. Okay? You'll get back there eventually.
Oh man, capitalist
to
is
the
such
panel.
a great compliment, right?
That's as a libertarian, you're saying that?
Ignore that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Opposite
yeah,
panel,
That's
yeah.
let's get
also
to
a
it.
compliment. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true
Mhm.
hobbit.
Oh my god.
Why
Talk about
shouldn't
the
they be
subject.
coerced?
Go back
Shut
to your
up.
socialism hole.
Oh my god.
Oh, you
Why
were done, I'm
shouldn't they
sorry.
be coerced? Like, why is it wrong for there to be some coercive force here?
What do you mean? Why is it wrong to have like? Do you just think coercion in general? Well, I mean that makes sense because you.
No,
You
here.
ever,
I think even you would
They're
agree,
coerced
Doobie,
by
that
being in
you ever
jail.
hear the
yeah,
Coconut
but-
Island?
Yeah.
We put them on Coconut Island. Okay, forcibly.
They
or
put themselves
coercively.
on Coconut Island.
Oh,
when they
God.
fucked up, they
we
broke
put
the
them
law.
there because
Okay, what if they're
they
completely innocent?
shot somebody, right?
You think that
then,
doesn't
hey,
happen
we
all
trust
the
court
time?
system.
No, it doesn't all the time. I guess it happens, but the percentage is not as like as significant compared
Okay.
to the
Yeah,
amount
it's
of
a tiny
fucking
amount of
guilty
people.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, should
you
we
don't-
not have
you don't
should we
wanna
not have
rehab
prisons
people.
because some of these people are innocent? No, we
So
should
you
still
don't,
have
wait,
prisons.
do you think that prisons are supposed to be rehab or just straight up punishment?
Partially rehab,
Both.
but partially restorative.
What part of them are restorative? What part of this is restorative?
So
The kidney.
I get right the kidney, right?
It's
You're-
restitution for your
Right.
crime.
Yeah, they
paying
can help them feel like
something.
they're contributing to society in a positive way for the
What if
first
they only
time.
had
in their life.
one kidney?
Like an eye for an eye.
Well, then they
Well,
don't
then
give up the
you-
kidney. They'll give up the toes
They
or
don't.
some
Right.
shit. Okay?
Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Their left nut.
Toes.
Yeah, they can give up their fucking nose for all I care. Okay, I don't look if they can't give up the kidney, they'll give us something else.
And it's
Or
a
if they have
choi- and it's a
nothing,
choice.
If they have
Yes.
nothing, let's say they're a drug addict and their organs are all fucked up. Well, then hey, they have nothing to give. They got to work off their sentence.
Okay, but this isn't donating body parts. This is donating like organs. This is
well, body
Yeah,
parts
I-
and organs are
I mean, I
I'd
agree with
agree
you
with
guys
that.
to an
overlap
extent when
there.
it comes to abnormal
I would say these people should be able to like
no.
donate or like give skin grafts, right? Like give chunks
Yeah.
of their skin to burn
Yes.
victims
That's an
in exchange
organ.
for time off their sentence.
Right.
It is an organ. But
Yeah,
I'm
It's
saying,
a testicle.
What's your point?
and just oh my god, Scott, just because something an organ's a body part doesn't mean body parts are organs. We are simply discussing organs. We're not discussing like chopping off your finger and giving it to somebody.
Although you can't
What if
do
they
Principle
use
is the same.
transplants and foot transplants.
Like,
I-
what are you talking about? The principle's the same.
I think you should give something of your
not-
body.
But that's not what we're discussing though.
they are.
Okay.
You are.
To somebody like you shouldn't be coerced into doing it. It's like a huge decision to do that. Like if you want to give it to like your family member like that needs it, that is totally understandable by me. I don't think anyone of us would disagree with that. I hope.
Well,
Here's
I'm just
the-
curious
Find some
why.
common grounds. I
Why?
mean, I know
Wait,
Lactoid hates human beings.
Wait,
so
wait,
maybe
Nina.
you-
I
Well,
got
why?
a question for you. What if I like commit a violent crime like most people in prison are in prison for, and I
Uh-huh.
shoot somebody like in the liver, and now they need a liver transplant? Doesn't it make sense that if I'm the one that shot them in the liver, that I have to
Well,
give them my
there's
liver?
no like guarantee that you even have the same blood type. So why
Let's-
would we
let's say you
have it
do.
on that metric?
No, if all
No, because that's
hypothetical,
silly.
let's say
It
you
needs to
do.
be
Your
consistent.
identical twin in the liver.
No, I'm saying let's say you shoot
Are
somebody.
you
it turns out-
capable of
turns out-
engaging in
turns out-
hypotheticals?
Yeah,
Like,
it turns out you're a match. You think at that point, like, we should just take the liver, right? It makes sense.
No, that's completely fucked on your own body autonomy. Like, what are you
Not
talking about?
And
You
not
you
spending-
can't
I'm not
argue
mentioning
for
somebody's-
hold on, stop. You can't argue for body autonomy if you prove via your actions that you don't care for body autonomy. The only way that you can argue for body autonomy
Well, you're a
is if you
libertarian or
pay
anti-choice?
Do you look, hon?
Wait, that's what you just fucking
This
said.
is Estoppel. This is Stefan Kinsella, right? This is libertarianism.
You're just gonna start
right?
saying random words? Like, no, that's what. Are
This
you
isn't
saying
a
that you
random
are not
word.
pro-choice?
Estoppel is a principle within law.
Are you not pro-choice?
Can
Am I
you just
not?
answer my? Can
What do you
answer
mean by
my question?
pro-choice? Like, how
No,
much are you
because
going to
your-
pivot and
but
run
your
away from the fact that you
question
can't
doesn't make
engage in
any
No, it's
hypotheticals?
very relevant.
It's a very clear, concise question.
Okay,
Okay,
but
so
you're
we're gonna run
saying-
away from
you're
it, got
saying
it.
that The majority of
I'm
people in-
running
You
away.
ran
from-
away from my
What are you
question.
What was your
talking about?
question? He started
What?
talking. I was responding to him.
Okay, my question to you that you said was stupid, by the way, and didn't engage with. Okay, so my question
Okay.
for you is: if you shoot somebody in the liver and you're
Uh-huh.
a match, should you have
Mhm.
to give them your liver if otherwise they would die?
No.
No,
Why?
okay. First of all, your question was based on the fact that you said that the
Ginger,
majority
don't try
of
and
people in
pivot
prison.
for her. Let her answer the
I'm-
question.
No, she's just
Fuck's
talking. Oh
sake,
my
you
god.
can let
What do you
me
mean?
talk
I answered the
once.
question. I said no.
She didn't answer the question.
All right, there you go.
What, you're not a lawyer? Like, what? I thought you were a lawyer. I said no. You're
Yeah.
asking me a question on the
Well,
stand.
I
I
followed
said
up.
no.
I followed up. Why?
Okay, what was your secondary question?
The one-word question. Why?
You just why? Why? Because I think that is a complete violation of bodily autonomy. There's no reason that you should owe them that. Like as restitution, like what they go free. Like what do you mean? That's so like
I think
that is so insanely like
Do you think keeping someone locked up in a cage for years on end is like a
Yes.
violation of their bodily autonomy?
Well, no, because that is more of a keeping away. I think that the fact that prisons are hellscapes, there is an argument for that. I don't disagree. But I'm just saying, like, the idea of prisons is that people should be kept away from the general society. And I think that we all get that, right? But I don't think that they should be
you
the
are
hellscapes that
violating
they
their
are.
bodily autonomy though by forcibly imprisoning them.
Right, you cannot argue for your bodily autonomy once you violate someone else's bodily autonomy. So let's say I murder Lactoid, right? And let's say I murder Lactoid, and then this is Walter Block's argument, another libertarian, right? So
Yeah,
I
just gonna name drop
murder
people.
Lactoid, right? And what ends up happening is there's a machine, and the machine can resurrect Lactoid. But in order for this machine to resurrect Lactoid, I have to walk in the machine and it has to kill me. That's restitution. I can't, like, if the family would have every right to demand that I walk into that machine and die to bring back Lactoid because I killed Lactoid. That's the prince, like that's an example of restitution.
You
The
did
same
that
concept
thing.
applies to
So wait, you're
Can I
trying to
just
say that
add that-
everybody that's in jail like killed somebody? Like, is that what we're trying to get, or are you
Yes,
just
that's
trying
exactly,
to?
that's exactly what we're saying. Yes.
God damn. God, this is
100%.
you are so stupid. It's hilarious. Like,
Well, you wouldn't admit if you're pro-choice or not, so I'm a little confused about that.
It just,
well,
I
hold on,
just
it's
want
about a lot of
let me
things.
just-
Son.
I don't know.
Jesus
No, it
Christ.
seems like you're
man.
calling me stupid just because you can't answer that question.
I just want to go
True.
back. I just want to
Ginger.
go back to what Lactoid was saying earlier. Is that this is kind of all based on the statement that most people are in jail because of violent crimes, which isn't true.
Yes, it's true.
No, it's not. The majority of
The-
people who are in
Jail
prison
or
are for
prison,
drug
these are important
offenses.
distinctions.
Prison.
Jail and
Most-
prison are
the
important
majority
distinctions.
of people who are in prison are from drug offenses. The next
Wait.
one's
Are you
extortion.
looking at just federal prison, or are you looking at federal and
Moving the
state
goalposts
prisons?
left and right over here,
Prisons,
my
for
dude.
fuck's sake. Pay attention.
Ginger, listen. Most people in prison are in a state prison. When you look at the breakdown of people who are in state prisons, it's overwhelmingly violent criminals. Okay.
No.
Yes. When you look specifically at federal prisons, who represent a tiny minority of overall prisoners, it is mostly drug offenses. But when you look at all prisoners, the vast majority are there for violent crimes.
And even
it's
still,
fine.
drug crimes are
Ginger,
violent crimes. Actually,
Can I
That's
help
not-
real
Oh my
quick?
God.
I need
Yeah.
to help Ginger.
I
can
don't
help.
agree- I don't agree with that. I don't agree with
Shut
that.
the fuck up. I can bridge the
Counselor,
gap. I can bridge the
Counselor, go
fucking
ahead.
gap. Shut the fuck up. Okay. So jail and prison are two different things. So jail is where you go for less than a fucking year or while you're waiting for sentencing. Prison is where you go away for
Yes.
a long fucking time. So
Yes.
majority of the people who go to fucking prison, they committed felonies. So they're either burglars or they're violent felons. Whereas there's a shitload of non-violent fucking drug offenders who cycle in and out of jail all the time. If you're talking about incarcerated people or people who are arrested in general, I almost guarantee you it's probably disproportionate fucking trespassing, drug offenses, DUI, all that kind of bullshit.
It's
But people
drug
who are
offenses
incarcerated for
for-
more than a year, then
They're
I'm
not
sure
donating
that
their
violence
organs.
is there.
Right. They're not
It's-
the ones that are
it's-
going to be donating their organs. The ones in
It's
jail.
drug
for-
offenses, extortion, fraud, bribery.
Yeah.
Like those are big federal crimes.
wait, hold on,
I-
Lactoid,
I-
Lactoid.
Wait. You said the word
Okay.
federal. You said the
Use
word
the word.
federal there. Are you
It
looking at
doesn't
just
matter.
federal prisoners?
No, I promise I'm not. Jeez.
Okay,
Lactoid,
here's the
Lactoid.
thing though. Like
I'll
I
Google
know this. Like I know for a fact that
You have
like
just become pro mansplaining on this fucking panel right now.
I don't think this
Jesus
is the first
Christ.
time this happened.
Scott,
You guys
you're
are
so bad.
sexist, okay? I am a feminist. Lactoid, are you telling me that you don't think that people in jail should be allowed this option?
so ultimately I don't think anybody should be in jail for drugs whatsoever. But
Well, that's retarded.
okay, I know you think that, but I'm also somewhat tired of, because this used to be my position that like, well, we can't do this stuff until we fix like this other problem first. I think we can do this concurrently. I think it's fair to like push for the legalization of drugs. While
You misunderstood my question. I'm asking if people in jail for violent or not violent crimes, right? Either one, should be given the option to give up an organ or a fucking leg or whatever the fuck it is, right? For time off their sentence.
So
The answer is yes, by the way.
I want to say yes, but the only thing I'm like concerned about is like I've seen these fucking backlogs, and there's really not going to be. There's not an incentive. We want to talk about perverse incentives, right? Like why would a judge ever want to speed up their backlog if the bigger their backlog, the more organs you get?
So the right
Is the
answer
judge being
is
paid
the right
by the-
Doobie. The right answer is the only way that is actually like a good thing is if restitution is paid to the victims of the crime and not society as managed by the state. Right? So if we open up a black market and we allow people to purchase organs and those proceeds go directly to the families or the individuals that are harmed by the crime, then it's perfectly fine.
Well, it wouldn't be black market at that point. It'd be
I think it should be
Amazon
totally legal.
FBA.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally for a market of organs.
That's a whole different ethical issue.
I think you should be able to sell your family members' organs if you own the corpse after they die.
Two things can be true at the same time.
I think we should sell people's organs that they're on with Discord.
That's
I want to sell yours, Scott.
So all right, listen. I actually looked it up for the Federal Bureau of Prisons or whatever, and it's 44% for drug offenses at the federal level. So I mean, like, you're right.
On the federal level.
By 5%. So
no,
you're talking about prisons in
it's
general.
the federal level. He's talking about state.
Did Ginger just fuck up the lawyer?
The combination.
No. So we live in a federal system. We live in a federalist kind of government, right? So there is a federal level, but there's also a state level. Okay, we have 50 states within one country, the United States of America, and every state has its own prison system, and there also is a federal prison system. Among the federal prison system, it's like the plurality is drugs. I already admitted that. But if you look
interstate commerce, that's
right.
What's
But
the determinant
interstate commerce, that's exactly the reason why. The drug traffickers are going to be charged under federal laws. But when we're looking at violent crimes, right, those are almost always, unless they're like a multi-state crime spree, those are almost always going to be state prisons, right?
Yes.
And the vast majority of prisoners are in state prisons, and the vast majority of people in state prisons are there for violent crimes and like violent property crimes like burglary.
Okay, so you think so are you saying that drug offenses they either only go to federal prison or they only go to jail, but the middleman is mostly just violent crimes?
Can I bridge this gap?
Wait, no, let him answer.
Yeah, I want to. Maybe
I said mostly.
Yes, you said mostly, but you also started off by saying, well, like only the drug dealers only go to like the federal. That's not true. Like there are state prisons that have drug dealers.
Okay, but then I followed it up by saying mostly. So
yes,
let's go with the second statement. All right, and
I'm just clarifying. I'm not trying to be. I'm just.
No, but Scott is trying to be a dick. So
okay. Well, let's ignore him.
It just comes natural to me. All right, especially when
I know
I'm surrounded by stupidity.
Just
we're all stupid except for you.
So if you look at the total like prison population, you break it down by like state, break it down by federal. People, you look at the state population. It's violent criminals, and it makes sense because people who commit violent crime are going to be there for the longest time period.
Okay, so
period
I
of time.
I found the stats, and basically, 55% is violent crime, 20% is property crime, and then another 15% is drug, and then another 5% or 10% is fucking public order. So my thing is, it depends on who's arguing what. Because if you say non-violent offenses, you could technically fit property and drug in there, and then you're at 35-40% of prison, which is like a significant amount of the population.
Property is a violent offense.
How's any of this relevant to the topic?
So here's why.
Why does it matter?
And fucking lactoid to fucking
counterpoint.
Yeah, if you steal a kidney, you gotta give them a kidney, dude.
So look at those property crimes. Like even that is broken down like burglary. Shit like that, right? Where it's like pseudo
theft, motor vehicle theft, fraud,
or
whatever.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, right?
Okay, but for me, all right. So just full disclosure, like I worked previously in law enforcement. I wouldn't consider like burglary unless it was like a home invasion. I wouldn't consider that a violent crime. So like,
would you consider it worth a kidney?
If you have a different, like if they taught you as a lawyer, like, hey, this is a higher level of offense or some shit, I don't give a fuck. We're splitting hairs at this point. I'm just
A
saying.
little bit, sure.
If you're
Wait,
if
so
you're a
Connor.
hippie, I'm almost done, buddy. I promise.
Jesus.
If you're a hippie, fucking progressive, libtard, and you want to say that a shitload of people are in the prison system because they're nonviolent offenders, blah blah blah, then you could technically argue for burglary to be a nonviolent offense, and therefore around 40% of the population is there. But what you said is correct, which I think a lot of lefties and progressives would find shocking, which is like 55-60% of the fucking population is just straight violent crime. It's like rape, murder, aggravated assault, battery, all that shit. So I think that actually is a shocking stat, by the way.
Yeah,
So-
domestic
so Connor,
violence. People have this like the idea that like,
You-
oh, they're just innocent. They're in there for
Domestic
drugs.
violence equals.
Well, yeah, but none of this
Give
matters
kidney.
because even if you are going to say we're give this option to violent offenders, then what you're saying is you're rewarding violent offenders with an option that non-violent offenders might also ask for. So I think
that's a
what it
good
comes
point.
down, yeah. So none of that matters. What matters is the perverse incentives that get introduced, and the only time, near as I can tell, the only way perverse incentives don't get introduced is if you're doing the direct restorative justice thing of like I've destroyed somebody's kidney and now I have an opportunity to repair that by giving them a kidney. At that point,
You're
there is
welcome.
no potential for perverse incentives. You could do that, and you would be serving restorative justice, and you wouldn't be creating all of these other like potential incentives to make the system worse.
That's the best way to do it.
I don't know.
yeah.
The way that I think about it, we have all these people in prison right now who are costing us tens of thousands of dollars a year per person just to keep them fed and clothed and whatnot. So we should be working them, right? They should be working, and all that money should either go to the victims or to the state. And if we can generate some other some like use out of them, whether it's selling their organs or whatever the fuck, I think that's totally fine. I think death row inmates should definitely have their organs sold by the state afterwards, or not sold, maybe just donated if you want to go that route. I think that I can't think of a good argument for this like against this, right? So it's coercive.
an innocent
Okay,
person.
well fuck.
Jimmy,
Well, an innocent
It's the
person.
perverse
Okay.
incentive. That's the good argument.
Well,
That's the best argument.
one argument
What's the
against this
perverse
could be-
incentive?
There was one argument
Check it
against this.
The
Could be like,
perverse incentive is that you would be more incentivized to put people in prison so that you could increase the number of available
Yeah.
organs available.
Exactly.
so there's that.
Wait,
maybe, but,
hold
like,
on.
but if you make people work while they're in prison and then give them the option of giving away like their kidneys or whatever the fuck, like you're
How are
still
they gonna
getting, you're
work
still
after they
I
did that?
can't, or Rich already addressed this. He basically said that like you're still going to have the general impulse to get as many people as possible.
Right.
So you
Exactly.
have
Yeah,
Right.
because they
No.
already do this. There's already people who have said literally they don't want to let prisoners out because they are working. You know, a lot of prisons are for profit, right?
well, but the whole
Oh shit! Don't go to
no,
prison.
Right, but what Scott said is like if the money
Don't break
if
the
money-
law. I
if
don't
the
know.
money-
It's
if
You
not
the
better be
money-
that
careful
hard.
about your books, my dude.
if the money coming from the work and the money coming from the organs goes to making the victim.
There's no money coming from the organs.
Okay,
There should be.
we're saying what should happen. What should happen is that the money comes from organs and like the money comes from work and it goes to the victim. Then you get rid of the perverse.
Wait, can I ask you a
Yes.
general question that is basically what you're saying, right? So do you think poor people should be able to sell their organs for
Yes.
profit?
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
To who?
Whoever wants
Whoever
to.
Whoever
wants.
they want
rich
to.
people.
You.
They can
If there
already
was a-
sell
if there was
their
a
Are you
fucking, like,
fucking
scientist,
serious?
if Corey
think you should
decided
be
he
able to
wanted to
sell
make
your
a
children?
film of Frankenstein, right?
mean, I know you're
think poor
libertarian,
people
so
should be able
do you
to
think-
sell their organ?
Do you
I don't think
should be
you
able
know
to
what
sell your children?
libertarian means.
No, I don't think
so.
so.
No, there's a huge right. Oh, come on. You're like, I think you even fucking quoted the guy either. He literally advocated for like selling your fucking child because their property and shit.
I
No,
am
they
not
don't.
in favor of selling your children.
Not
Let me.
you, I'm talking about
first.
the
No.
Scott here.
She's talking about an adoption market, and she's talking about Rothbard, right? And
That sounds
Rothbard
right.
called an adoption market. What he's really just talking about is like we should be able to pay to adopt children if it is that if we want to do that. Now, I don't
Good one.
necessarily like. I don't think that you should be able to sell your children, because ultimately I think that if you abandon your child, which is to say that you want to sell your child, right, any individual is then able to take over guardianship, and you don't necessarily have that right to sell it because
But that's
you
what
do
he
not
was
own
advocating
the
for.
yeah, Rothbard made some mistakes, sure, in the way that he described things. He also argued that children should be able to run away from their parents when have like the first come user privilege, which kind of like cleaned up by Hoppe in terms of language later, but that they would have the right to run away from their parents But yeah, the founder of American libertarianism wasn't perfect on all of his theory. Modern theory and the way that we've looked at it is like much closer to like Walter Block, a rational theory on the rights of children. So yeah, if you engage in abandonment of your child, then any person can take over that guardianship. And if the child has a preference, then obviously that would be where they would go. So you can't sell the
Sorry
kids.
to bring up the India to him.
So Nina, why shouldn't a poor person be able to sell his organs to Corey so that Corey can build a Frankenstein?
Because there's a fucking perverse goddamn incentive there, and fucking poors like if you need a fucking honey
Okay,
bun
so
in
why
order to
wouldn't
fucking
why
eat,
wouldn't
then you're gonna sell your
You're
shit.
describing all labor.
Working at McDonald's,
Why wouldn't
there's
that
a perverse
advertise-
incentive there for the
Why
why would that
people.
not incentivize killing people and like literally taking their organs to sell?
Right?
Are you
Like China does.
serious?
Well, because killing people violates their consent. They don't consent to being killed.
You're the one
Unless
that
they
now
do, in
owes
which
the
case it's
money.
fine to kill them.
There is like this is like the whole thing where you can't take out like insane life insurance policies out on people without them knowing. Like that's what they
No,
used to
they're-
do back
they're
in like the
disanalogous.
fucking what no, they used to do that back in the day when like around the prohibition times. They used
No,
to just
they're
do that.
disanalogous. What we're describing
How?
is if you kill
We're talking
someone,
about
right?
incentives.
If you kill someone,
Yeah,
you
people
owe.
would kill them
listen,
for their
listen.
insurance
let me
money. You
expla-
guys are insurance bros.
Listen. You're just throwing out random words. You're not understanding what's going on. So let me explain to you what's going on for like the 10th time. If I kill you, right? Your family can demand restitution from me. Okay,
Yeah,
I
if you don't have
cannot
any family.
argue. Okay. If
Oh,
you
this
don't have
never
any-
happens. There's no possible way that everyone has a family or doesn't.
That's actually a good question, Scott.
If you have zero family, right, and you have zero next
There's
of
plenty of
kin,
people who have that.
it is still true that I cannot argue that I'm stopped from arguing for
can't
personal
argue.
body rights, right? I cannot validly argue that the non-aggression principle applies to me because I have proven that I've violated this. I would still have to pay restitution to someone. Even if there was no one to pay restitution to in terms of your family, I would still have to give it to charity or give it abroad in order for me to validly argue that I believe in the non-aggression principle and that my rights should be respected.
So actually, I have I hate fucking ANCAP theory, but I have a question. So if somebody violates the NAP, do you just like fucking annihilate their butthole? Do you just like fucking draw and quarter them in the public square because they like violated the NAP, or you're just like, fuck it, we can do anything to this motherfucker?
It's called the gentleness principle, right? So if I come over to you and I let's say
We're
I
all about
sock you in the
principles.
jaw, right? And then I stop punching you in the face. I back up and say, I believe in the non-aggression principle now. Like, please don't hit me, right? You have every right to demand redistribution and restitution and restorative justice, which is to say whatever the value of 2 punches in the jaw is. But if you come over to me and you beat me to death,
what would you
you've
value that
gone
at?
way over that.
Okay.
The problem is
So
that
if
the
somebody
value of said
murders
things
somebody
is
with a claw
subjective.
hammer
So you
slow.
Okay,
do you
what
get
if they
to
don't
murder
have
them with a
anything?
claw hammer slow.
You make
so
them work.
the problem is
Oh.
that value is subjective, right? And so it
Mhm.
behooves almost everyone to an extreme degree to have voluntary contracts of how this will be handled before those things occur within that society, because the fact of reality is that value is subjective. And so it's, as an observer, determining the
Oh, it's
value of a punch to the face is going to be different for each individual person. So that's why you need voluntary
if somebody
contracts ahead of
molests
time.
a child, can we draw and quarter them with horses in the public square? Because that's
So
my
it-
subjective value.
I mean, first of all, the covenant community or wherever you live likely would have things set up ahead of time that say if you do such things, you give
can
up
draw and
all of
quarter
your
you
rights,
in
and we're going to
square.
draw and
Sweet,
quarter
I'm
you.
down. I'm
and
an
fucking
ANCAP
murder
now. You got me.
Oh, wait. I'm really opposed to like the whole like drawing and quartering of the pedophile, because like, what if we just
No, you signed the fucking document when you bought a house in my neighborhood. Fuck you.
okay.
Just drawn and
The
quartered.
reason like I'm opposed to this whole like drawing and quartering them is like
We
Like,
waste
you-
the vital organs. I know.
you,
it's
yeah
very
you could use them, right? Like we could get something out of them to pay for the kids' therapy, right? Like if what's worth more, like a moment of revenge or like tearing this guy apart, or like having
It's
him
not
work
your-
for 40 years?
It's not.
My
it's
value
not,
is subjective.
It's, listen,
So you know.
no, it's not. It's not for me or you to decide.
guys
It's for
are,
the
like,
family member
sadistic.
and the individual that was harmed to decide.
It's a child. The child can't decide.
Right, that's
so
why we
talking
have
about the family.
guardianships, right? Like the parent is the is a guardian of the emergent will of that is the property of the child, right?
Okay.
Just like you have a will when someone dies, except you just you translate that will over like 18 years, let's say, and then eventually it's fully translated at the very end. They can kind of tell you what they want, but it's your job as a parent to be like, yeah, I know you want cookies right now, but like you're gonna get an
Right.
upset tummy. It's like you don't get to eat cookies before dinner
Right,
time.
but the cookies are like actually bad for the. This would be like, I would assume there's like more empirical evidence that like financial resources throughout the kid's life are going to be more helpful than knowing that 20 years ago, my parents caught this guy doing something and now they had him like torn apart on the city square.
Well, it's hard to tell.
It's not hard to tell.
For some
I'm
people,
sure you could measure that.
that's real fucking cathartic to know that person was drawn and quartered and that they're never gonna harm somebody else again and that they're fucking gone.
But if they're working, they're never going to harm somebody else again because we have them contained. They're working.
They cannot argue for their rights after they do so.
Look, I gotta say really quickly, like
We're hitting some
the
levels of
anti
autism, not
anti side
possible.
on this is incredibly weak. Corey, you've barely spoken. Like where's your fucking Chad vegan energy? Like why aren't you telling us?
I never claimed to be a Chad, only vegan.
I'm claiming. Okay, explain what we're all wrong and you're correct. Okay.
No, I just wanted to ask you a question. So like I think you asked a valid question in terms of like why shouldn't a poor person be allowed to sell their organs to maybe lift themselves out of poverty? I would say, and I would go back to sort of what I brought up in my opening statement in terms of like yes, there are multiple reasons why this bill is being proposed, but it's also, let's say, being proposed for the purposes of maybe solving the organ shortage issue. So I would call this like a band-aid solution. That's why I bring up sort of larger, hopefully the larger solution of like, just pretty much harvesting the organs of the dead and not overly respecting them. Just as I would answer your question that you why should a poor person be allowed to sell their organs to lift themselves out of poverty? It's because like there are better solutions available. Just as there are better solutions to the organ shortage than like harvesting the organs of prisoners. We have the technology to harvest.
What does it matter that there are better solutions available? That someone, they could get marketable skills and work them way up, work their way up, and maybe someday they won't be broke anymore. Okay, sure.
Don't let him get away with this. What's the better solution than allowing people freedom to sell organs?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters, right? Because whether or not it's the better solution, why shouldn't I have the bodily autonomy? If you guys care about this so much, to make decisions about my body. This guy wants to buy my finger. I should be able to sell him my finger, regardless of whether there's an organ shortage or a finger shortage or whatever the fuck it is.
We've already done this in the 19th century, and it ended up with super fucked up results. So we don't have
in
to
the
relearn
19th
every
century.
fucking lesson. Yeah.
I don't think we should be. I don't think we should be making decisions about today's society based on what the fuck happened in the 19th century.
Yeah, you're trying to go back to the 19th century.
No, I'm trying to move forward and provide people with more freedom, more bodily autonomy, having learned the lessons of the past. Right? I think again.
Kids
so
lost
if
their fingers to fucking pickle jars and shit.
Please,
Yeah, fucking awesome.
If 15 homeless dudes, right, don't want to be broke anymore. So they sell various parts of their body to Corey so he can construct a Frankenstein body for himself. What the fuck is the problem with that? I don't understand how you guys can be so in favor of bodily autonomy. So in favor of bodily autonomy.
What are your guys' thoughts of prostitution? Because I feel like that's a step in
willing
between.
to deny people the right to cut pieces of their body off themselves if they choose to.
Yo, okay, listen, Nina fucking said pro-choice, it's fucking if you're not pro-choice, you're fucking cringe or whatever. But yo, don't throw me in that fucking camp.
But do you agree with me? I'm curious on your.
Should people not be able to get piercings because they're better ways to decorate your body? It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, spaced.
But do you at least agree with my position of if you're dead, you give up the right to your organs and so basically your body autonomy.
Not necessarily. Hold on. So I think when you die, your body passes on to some person in your family. Probably, they own you, and if they want to sell your organs, they can go for it.
Corey, do you think would you be amenable to the idea of everyone that dies has to go into a government-regulated organ market? So you're not selling it; it's just the use of your body.
Yeah, I think it should mostly be an opt-out at the most. I would be more just
yeah.
I'd actually more advocate it. Just like, yeah, if you're dead, you give up pretty much. You have no bodily autonomy after you're dead. You become an inanimate object.
Right.
And so that's where my.
I don't think you
Or
actually believe that.
your corpse.
So wait, hold on.
I agree
So
with
so
that.
Corey. So if Prime died and for some reason he left his beautiful body to me, and I said, hey,
No,
I want
not the
to
insurance
take
man.
Prime's body and take Prime's body,
give it to
set it up on a wall somewhere, and turn it into a fucking glory hole where people can just fuck Prime's ass 24/7 whenever they want for $20 an hour or some shit.
That's Lactoid's
Like-
position. He already advocated. for
Corey,
that.
would
Oh,
you be okay with me doing
Man,
that?
you command a lot more than $20 an hour. Okay.
Yeah,
That sounds.
hold
Well, I
on.
feel like it depends how long of time goes.
So
by.
Yeah,
Corey,
see,
would
there's
you be okay
nuance
with me
here.
doing that?
Would I be? I'm not sure if I caught your whole.
Would that be something that would be legal in your system?
Yeah, it's
You
just
want him
an
to
inanimate
repeat it?
object. Who gives a
He's
shit?
selling access to Prime's dead asshole.
Yeah, like he's no longer, and by my definition, he's no longer human.
God.
Hey, he put the
Yo,
bullet on
I
that one.
blame no. I blame Danny DeVito for this shit. Y'all
Nice.
watch fucking It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia too many times, and you watch that fucking clip where he's like, "Just throw my body in a dumpster. I don't give a shit. Throw
Even
me
if-
in the
yeah,
trash."
Even
Like,
for my own body, like,
y'all-
so we're gonna get to the point, okay?
Oh,
Like,
fucking
what are we
dumb.
gonna do? What are we gonna do with our dead? Like, there's only so many dead bodies we can bury. We can start burning them too, I guess. But like, there's an actual cost to like how we deal with our dead, and if we can actually meaningfully contribute to people's health and well-being by harvesting their organs, just because like you have, let's say, like, again, your sentimental value to organs, I think, ends when you die, and at least by my definition, you're no longer a conscious human being. But I'm also like not religious.
You know
it's
how
also
I-
like a food, it's a food source too, right?
You
can
know
we
how
use
I
sharks
do
for
these, like-
military
You could
purposes?
just
Hold on.
ask him, "Hey, do you
Hold
still
on,
want your
hold on.
kidney?"
Hold
Say
on.
anything.
You know how I
They're
do these
dead,
like
then.
things where I try and get Corey Campbell to like agree
No.
to like an extreme end of the distribution that his analysis or moral framework is setting up something. You're doing that for us. Like, you're basically saying that people have no property rights whatsoever, and we can do whatever we want with the dead.
He's saying
And anyways,
property
like,
rights.
Yeah, yes. When
dead
someone
bodies are property.
dies,
No, he's
it's the
allowing
property
for the opt-out.
of the family. Now, if you're saying we're going to get to the point where we have to figure out what to do with the dead, yeah, it's real fucking simple. Mausoleums, crypts, and funeral services that don't involve cremation will get progressively
Throw 'em in
more
the trash.
expensive, and then only certain people will be able to afford those.
Human compost and
Well,
bitch.
wait, no, Scott, answer
There you
Judy's
go.
question though. Like, if the family decides to sell like the body for like nefarious,
Yeah, they
degenerate
can do whatever
purposes.
they want with that
All right,
body.
all right, there
Now,
you go.
granted, I don't want them living in my society, and I'm not going to do business with them. But like,
What?
and I
You
might
don't wanna
live.
bang
I might
Prime
I
Guy's
might
corpse?
live, and I might live in. I might choose to live in a place where that is something that is not allowed via the contract of the covenant community. But that being said, I don't have a right to use the police to kick down their door to stop them for doing something that is their property that is inherently not aggressive. I can just
You're
say
not a
that's
But
very
Corey
more
good
hasn't
Yeah,
taken.
That's fair.
Corey
enough.
hasn't gone to that extreme, right? Like Corey specifically said, he allows for opt-out. So
Yeah.
if anyone wants to put in their living will, I don't know. Some of my brethren, like pre-Vatican II Catholic, do not want to be cremated because they believe that their body will be glorified in the afterlife, and so they don't want their body to be cremated or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
They could opt in, put in a living will that they don't want anything to happen to their body, and then
it's
it
a bullshit
gets buried
argument
in
because
the-
we already live in that society. Like,
I have
you
a
choose
question.
to be an organ donor or
And-
don't.
I
Well, we would
should.
opt
I have
in.
a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dewey, but I want to clarify as well.
Okay, so this reminds me of something. I've been reading lots of Brandon Sanderson books recently, right? In one of the books, there's a character who basically is able to wear people's bones, right? Like under their skin.
Finally started reading Mistborn.
I finished it, both eras,
Nice.
actually. Yeah. And one of the things this character does is, they'll go around and ask people like, hey, I'll pay you, and when you die, I get your bones, right? I'll pay you right now, and you live your life, and when you're dead,
Wait,
I get
you know
your
that's
bones.
based
right?
off
And I
of
get
a
to wear
real
them around.
story, right?
I hope so. That's really cool.
It's based off of
Um,
the Irish giant.
That's cool. So I'm wondering, like, so would you guys be opposed to like a poor person, right? Or anybody, having the ability to go to some business and say, hey, and that business says, hey, I'll give you $50,000 right now, but when you die, I get your body and we get to do whatever the fuck we want with it. Like, would you be opposed to that?
Yes.
Why?
Not
Why would
at
you be
all.
opposed to that?
Because I believe in a god, unlike you heathen
my
body
God.
raping fucks.
Well, okay, yeah, so
Jesus
this is where I want to
Christ.
clarify my I think after you're dead, your body should specifically be used for medical purposes. I'm not saying that pretty much the scenario that you outlined in Prime is I'm not going to advocate for
Look,
that.
I just want a house made out of homeless people. Like,
And
You
by
mean-
the way,
you
this is
mean-
not the society that we live in now.
Like there's
Because
really
what
that,
Corey was describing was opt out, and what the society that we live in now is opt in. That is to say,
Yeah.
they can't use your organs unless you specifically have said that you can.
I
This
think
is something that comes up in the debate world about once every 2
sure,
years.
it's a
It's a
percentile
question of whether or not
difference.
we should do opt out or opt in, and those are two very different systems.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's a
think the bare minimum is
percentile
opt out.
difference in terms because some people will not actively opt out, but they won't necessarily
Right.
actively opt in. So you get a higher percentage of people that engage in the program. But I mean, if that's what you're
The
talking
vast
about,
majority of people
I mean,
don't
it's-
opt out or in.
right? But it's still, I mean, sure. I mean, at that point, you're talking about a slight difference in terms of, well, I mean, you're talking about a difference in percentage, but you're not really talking about a rights difference. I mean, I don't want the fucking state using my body one way or the other. But I mean, if you want to do that, do that. But I hate to see how that's really, really I don't know, how much are we gaining from that? How does
A lot
that
of organs.
change? I mean, yeah, I'm sure, but I mean, what we're really talking about is individuals that are still healthy that are able to sell their living organs, right? I mean, how many organs are we really gaining from people that die from old age? I mean, when you read the article itself, they were talking about some of the reasons people didn't want to do it is because it costs money to do the procedure or they have to do the executions differently, right? So
you didn't read the
I don't know.
article.
What?
I know you didn't read the article because it doesn't cover that at all.
Who the fuck reads?
Absolutely, it
I did the work
does.
to read both articles, assholes. What the fuck?
wait, but the article
Okay,
does
I
mention that.
obviously did my research because not only did I read the article, but I knew the company and the people that are on the board of the company and what the name of the company was before. I also happen to know that they make 1.2 billion,
what?
but
Of
the
the
article says
article?
1.7 billion.
1.7 billion what?
Bajillion.
In terms of
kangaroos.
well
Bodies.
Yeah, bajillion.
And
body.
so yeah, Doobie, I'm definitely not advocating for your ability to have like you said a home full of homeless
Prime
people
sex
that are no
No, a
longer
house
alive.
of homeless people.
Of-
That's what he-
whatever. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay.
Why not?
Have y'all
uh,
They wanted to
Sorry,
build
I-
out
I,
a homeless
I just
people.
I don't. So Corey, you're not religious, so why not? That doesn't make any sense. So Connor has some weird fucking Christian shit going on, right? So okay, but you're not one of those. So
Fucking
why
weird
shouldn't I?
Christian
Why
shit is
shouldn't
like
why shouldn't I be able to
90%
sell
of the
my
population,
policy?
by the way.
Cringe. So why shouldn't I be able to sell my body, my dead body, while I'm alive? I just sell the rights to it.
You whore.
as in after you're dead,
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
what
If they
happens.
want to turn me into a sex toy, that's cool. I'd live on.
While you're
Or
alive, yeah.
I
With that
hate
clause
y'all
that
so
says, of
much.
course, if you actually are the one who kills me, then you get nothing, of course. right?
Yeah, I will totally be a consequentialist in this regard. In terms of I think they're a bit much better. That's why I think I might be
That's
wrong.
stupid.
I think I specifically said
There
in
are
my opening
better ways to-
argument of we should specifically harvest your organs after you're dead. We should not respect your consent of your dead body.
Corey, let me throw one more.
Can I-
wrench
can I-
in.
can I
Wait,
just-
hold on, wait,
doesn't make any
wait, I want to.
So we don't-
Hold on.
No,
really quick.
it's okay.
Uh,
Corey figured it
well,
out. He doesn't respect your consent while you're alive or
Wait,
while
no,
you're
no.
dead.
So this
Yeah.
is this
Lactoid,
is
then Ico.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
so
doesn't work
this-
on him the way
so
it did
the-
for someone else.
Lactoid, then Ico. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Corey, what if I wanted to build I was like Doobie? I was weird. I wanted to build my house out of homeless bodies. But I promised that I would actually
Like a good capitalist.
for every homeless person that I would buy, I would
You would
donate.
donate?
I would donate enough money to medical research to actually outweigh the value of using those homeless people for medical research as opposed to building my house. Then at that point, the raw consequentialist analysis would
Yeah.
dictate that you should be able to build a house out of homeless people. Correct?
In principle, if that calculator exists, then yeah, hypothetically on
Okay,
paper.
all right.
I've seen
I
something like
fucking hate
this.
consequentialism. I
I've seen
fucking
something
hate it.
like this. If you go to Italy, there's an entire church called the Bone Church,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
really
made
cool.
out of the
Romania, I
bones and
think.
specifically skulls of the many monks who have lived in that church for over the past 2,000 years. and it's literally built out of human bones and skulls. You can look it up right now. It's called the Bone Church. It's amazing.
It's in the Czech Republic, but I've been there, and it is really fucking cool.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool.
Uh,
So there's nothing
Dewey's
wrong
an
with
artist.
using dead bodies. This was in a sanctified way too. So like Counterpoint shouldn't object to it on a religious basis. But
Well, okay. So
let me just
but
say,
I need to ask
some-
Doobie. Sorry, you go, and then I'll ask Doobie a mean question.
yeah, I just wanted to correct something I said earlier. It's not the vast majority. I thought it's not. In fact, 54% of people opt into organ donation, which is great. But if you switch to an opt-out system, which is like what Corey wants, that 54% jumps to 90%, which is close to double. So you can imagine like how many more lives would be saved if all we did was switch from the opt-in to the opt-out.
Well,
I support
that data is kind of rough because it's like
Corey
when
for
you say
president.
opt in, opt out, right? Opt in means you're making an active decision, right? And you admit that the
Yes.
reason for the difference is because the active decision requires you to opt out. But my question is like what level of
Ginger, we can
informed
hear you a
cons-
little bit.
Grabbed it.
Ginger, we can hear you a
Ginger,
little bit.
mute yourself. So the question then becomes like in the opt out procedure, what level of informed consent are you giving? Because
So
if it's like
level
if
form-
it's like a passive thing, like you're at the DMV and then they're like, "Hey, do you want to opt out?" and you're like, "Oh, I don't know." Like because the state is doing that, what happens if someone comes down and has
Yeah.
a sit down interview and describes in graphic detail every
No,
single thing that
it's
is
not
likely
that.
to occur with
It's-
your body? You might actually see the number go under the amount of people.
Well,
that
it's
opt in.
this.
I
It's
mean, you're
this.
dead.
It's
Who
this.
cares?
Right now, there's a simple check mark that says, "Do you want to opt in?" And if you leave it blank, then you're opted. Then you're not an organ donor. All this proposes is that you flip that and say, right now we are going to assume.
Yeah, no,
that you're
I
an organ
recognize
donor.
all that, but you didn't engage
Yeah.
with what I said.
Well, no, you asked me which it was, and it's the former. It's
No, I'm
all
sa-
it is you just flip what the check mark means. That's
Right,
it.
but do you understand that like what you're describing is you have to opt in for something, right? And so it becomes your choice to do something. However, the ethics might change if they were going to do something to you, unless of course you opted out. And so the question is if they informed you what they were going to do, how might those percentages change?
Yeah, and the question then becomes like, to what degree do you do the informing? Like, do you
make them
give
watch an
do you give the
autopsy?
horror show
Right.
in a room that takes 20 minutes of
Yes.
explanation and a video,
Cool.
or do you just say, this is what organ donor is? Maybe have a little paragraph that explains it on the card, and then you can opt out if you want to. Like, to me, that's what it would be, and that is what it is in certain parts of the world because they do
Yeah,
these.
yeah. Can I jump in on here real quick? On that same note, just before we get too far away from it, there is a organization, at least in the United States, that is specifically meant for taking care of organ donorships. It's called the United Network of Organ Sharing. That is, or also another word for it is the organ organ procurement and transplant network. This is the thing that's been in the United States as a law, or a organization since 1984. It's a government organization that do manage how your organs are going to be used, and obviously they have a lot of ethical basis on why they choose to do things, and it seems very on the up and up, so to say. Is that something that I know you're a libertarian, so I assume you're against, but does that not seem like a reasonable thing to have if you're concerned about like what's going to happen to your body? Like, this is a government agency that is specifically meant for your organs to not get like just like fucking your heart or something by some random dude. It is like an organization that makes sure that your organs go to the right place.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm against it because it's a state monopoly that has been captured by the state.
Well,
and
it's not for
refuses to allow people to
profit.
be
It
free.
literally.
I didn't say it was for
Must be.
profit.
Okay.
And really,
It's a
there's no
state
reason this industry shouldn't be for profit. I think it's fine for
Oh
people
my
to profit
God,
off their bodies.
Doobie, what happened?
What's wrong with people
I
profiting off their
have
own
a
fucking
question.
bodies? I mean,
I have a question. I don't, Doobie. So if you were to build your fucking homeless body house, would it be more
Yeah.
like Sicario, where they're like pinning up and drywalling the homeless people into the walls so the whole house stinks? Or would it be like a gingerbread house but made out of human flesh, where like you basically like you skin the homeless people and you use that as your drywall?
This is
do
why
you
he
know
doesn't show his
the
camera.
date? Do you know what the demoncula is? Or is it? Fuck. How do you pronounce it?
Demonculaba.
Monkey
Dewey's
lava.
got
Yeah.
blueprints, apparently.
Yeah, where they birthed Chaos Space Marines out of
Yeah.
fucking stitched together human corpses.
Yeah, I've had a situation like
Warhammer.
that. I think.
Okay.
I stitched
right.
together homeless people and
So,
then have
so
children.
you
live
try
in
to
them.
recreate the Demonculaba with
Basically, yeah.
Isn't
Okay,
the entire
again,
point of Warhammer that it's like a
I've been
shit
won
place?
over.
So,
Again.
Doobie.
So I guess we know now how long, like when Doobie goes into like his drunk-induced state where he learns to like mankind. We know how long that lasts now.
Yeah, the
2
ego
weeks.
death. But
Yeah. The ego death is over.
So Doobie, so I think your response earlier in terms of like, as I guess your rebuttal to me, when you die, your body gets pretty much your family now owns it. Is that correct? And they can choose to do, or unless you have prior instructions. But if there are no instructions, like your family or whatever next of kin.
Yeah.
So I will repose the question in a different context. What if you have no family?
Oh, then it goes
You
to
go
the
Doobie's
state.
Demonculaba house.
Or finders keepers, right? Abandoned.
No,
tribes.
yeah, it goes to the
That's,
first.
I mean,
If you
no,
have,
at that point,
no, that's
if you have
actually
no family,
true. Like,
goes
That's
to
what Lactoid
the
does on the weekends.
it
Right,
just
so
No, it
goes
goes to the
to
first-
fucking
Dude,
science.
that's
Goes
natural
to the
incentive to
thing.
clean up the dead bodies.
So-
and no one
so
else is gonna
it
pick
goes
up,
to the
right?
first
You
user.
want to go back into like mercantilism,
So
dude.
what should the state do with it, Doobie? Do you think?
Probably criminally investigate some people, but
You would, yeah, but like with the body, like
Well, if they-
so
hold on.
aside after
So if they just
collecting-
find like at medical research, organ donation, if that's possible. If not, just fucking burn it. I don't care.
Would their insurance like impact at all how you would treat it?
no.
What?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, it's first user. If you don't have a will and you have no family, you have no next of kin, then the first person to come into contact with your body that says I want it. It's
Well, what if you
theirs.
say like, okay, so who finds random dead bodies? Like who does the cleanup? The state.
I don't know.
right?
Well,
not in
yeah.
Scott's
So,
world.
so what Scott's saying
in-
is that we should be able to go to like the top of Mount Everest, pick up all the dead bodies up there, bring them back down, and just like
No,
wear them around.
Okay,
Yes!
I love how
Like,
Do you know
fucking
how
much of a
ridiculous that is?
No, I love how much of a nightmare society this would be because like private cops would just be running around finding homeless corpses all over the place.
Wait.
I mean, that's
so-
like the libertarian dream is the old school
Wait.
shit where firefighters would get into fist fights over the
Okay.
while the building's burning down in the background.
wait. Not to be.
Yeah,
not to be,
hold
not
on,
to
pause.
one.
No. She brought up an entirely bullshit point. Privatized firefighters were
Uh-huh.
actually
Okay.
way better than state-run
Oh my
fire
God.
agents.
I shouldn't have brought it up. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it
yeah.
up.
So I want to point out something on this topic because I think all of you are actually okay with the finders keepers things for bodies, but you just have a longer time period on it than like we might, right? Because
Who's we?
then I guess me and Scott and Doobie, right? Because I mean, currently, when people find like 40,000-year-old like mummified bodies, like they take them and they put them on display and stuff. And also, if a body's been laying in the grime long enough, it turns into dirt. Are you telling me I can't go like take a big cubic, thing of massive dirt? If
Well,
it happened
that
to once,
actually
if
is
it happened to once be a person, like no,
that is actually a way to donate your body to preserve certain like national parks and stuff. That's an option. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that like when I
Okay.
brought up finders keepers, people thought it was it's funny phrase or whatever. What I'm saying
It's
is that like
temporal.
all of you believe that if the body's been sitting for long enough, then you all believe in finders keepers, right?
Yeah, it's
You're
temporal.
right, Lactoid. In the hypothetical scenario in which I don't give a shit about corpses, I want a 90-day finders keepers.
Yeah, it's
stray
like a warranty.
Talking about, like, mummies and
warranty
stuff like
period.
that?
like the way that they have like stray holds for dogs at the pound, where you can't just give away somebody's dog, is the way that you can't give away.
I'm just
somebody's
imagining a
corpse. You
leash
gotta wait
over
90
somebody's
days.
neck, and you're just like pulling this dead body.
Yeah, but like
This
I
is
think
what I
I
call
think it's an
content.
interesting point. That it's just a matter of time before no one gives a damn. I mean, like it's in
It's
terms
just
of
seeing
like
those paradoxes all.
Well, can I
don't know
say
that is.
his?
I want to
Fucking
hold on 1 second.
savages,
I
that's
don't know what that is, but so Aiko, you should explain that to me later.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, I will.
Like this reminds me of like burial plots. Like in the U.S., like we don't like we have so much land that we put like no effort into managing burial plots, but like in other countries, like that's not the case, right? And so you only have that space for like a limited amount of time. and like they cycle through those things. Yeah, like it's not something you think about, but like, and there are a lot of countries that like, have to do like be really creative with their burial lands, and sometimes you got to lose them because it's just like,
Yeah,
like
like
how
I
many
said.
people
You're from New
are
Orleans,
around?
right?
Like how many people are around who know you, right? Who remember you, who give a shit that you're buried there. At some point, move them out, right? Yeah.
At some point, the name's
Boston
forgotten,
used to do
right?
that shit. Well, okay, so I got some wild shit. Y'all went on some wild shit. I got to go on some wild shit. So in Boston, they used to have like a downtown, and it was a burial ground. So they would cycle the corpses through the graves. But then Boston became such a big city that they couldn't fucking cycle through the graves fast enough. So they were digging to bury new people, and they were finding corpses. And then one year there was like a particularly horrific flood, and the grave was on a hill. So then fucking like dead bodies were just luging down the fucking street in the middle of
Yeah,
the
we got to
fucking
stop
city.
burying. Like we have to find better ways to deal with our dead.
We gotta let
I
them
don't think
decompose.
so.
We gotta get rid of coffins. Put them actually in the ground. Let them be reclaimed by the earth.
I promise you, Corey, if we did finders keepers, the bodies would not be buried.
As a consequentialist, I'm all on board then. Sign me up.
Jesus.
Michael, what's Zeno's paradox?
Okay, so Zeno's paradox is, as I'm sure panel is a paradox in which, in order to get anywhere, let's say you're getting from,
Yeah, half a
where I'm
distance.
sitting now to my front door, you
Oh,
first
that
have to get halfway there. You have to get halfway there, and then you have to get halfway there, so on and so forth. And you never get to the end, according to the paradox, right? And it's sort of, but there's a point at which, of course, the answer to Zeno's paradox is that there's a point at which you sort of hit a tipping point to where you can just say you're there. And I think that that's the case here, right? Where we're talking about, well, when is a corpse no longer a corpse? When is it just a pile of dirt, right? And there's no real like absolute like singular threshold at which that's the becomes the case, right? You can say it's the point at which I no longer recognize grandma sitting on the table or whatever because it's decomposed so much. Or it can become the point at which the bones are no longer connected, or maybe that the bones have gotten so soft that they're not really bones anymore. Point is, there comes a point at which you would no longer, and a lot of this is legalistic too. I'm sure Lactoid could cite maybe statutes that say the point at which a body is no longer or a point at which a possession is no longer a possession, it's been abandoned for a certain amount of time, whatever it is. To some degree, it's arbitrary, but there does come a point at which we no longer consider like a body to be a body, and at that point, it doesn't really matter what people do to it.
Yeah, like if you thought Nina, if you thought the Bone Church was awesome, then like, I mean, shouldn't that be a horror show? Because people's bodies were.
They were specifically saying that
concentrated.
they consented for them to do that because they were like such a big part of that church that they wanted to, in death, still be a part of the church, which is beautiful in my opinion. If that is your choice to become like your bones are just doing
Beautiful.
it, like
But
There
how's
is
that
a
any
message.
different from
The
anything
church
else?
Hey, so
itself
Nina,
has a
do
message.
you agree with me then that people
what's
should
the
be able to
message?
sell rights to their body while they're alive?
they're not selling it. It wasn't for money. It was because they spent their life there, and that's where they wanted.
Why can they
That's
why
what
can
they
they give
want.
it away for like some religious shit, but they can't sell it? Like why is it wrong for them to make money off this?
Because then there's
Because
incentives.
you're gonna buy them and
What?
turn them into diminished.
There's an
Colossus.
I don't want to be
incentive,
part of
which
your
is-
house, asshole.
There's an incentive that individuals want to be in the church. It's just what they're valuing is different. Like that doesn't make any sense. You're not being
Yeah,
consistent.
like good things, not fucking being fucked to death in some weird glory.
Okay, well
hole
that's
with
their
fucking
own
necro
choice,
corpses.
though. I don't.
Yeah, I
understand
mean,
what
look,
you're
the church used to sell.
Okay, but here's a
adult
good thing.
So-
No. Here's a
You need
good
a
thing.
fucking
Okay,
crusade.
there is a good thing if I sell it. Let's say I don't give a fuck that my body is fucked to death when I'm dead, but let's say I'm having financial problems or I just want to do better. Let's say I sell a kidney
So how
for
does that
20
not
G's and then I
incentivize
put a
that-
down payment on a house. Like, yes,
with
that's a
20
good
Gs?
thing. Do you not know
Well,
how
hold on.
down
I mean,
payments
the
work?
church used to sell indulgence too, but then Martin
yes,
Luther like nailed
I
his
do.
95 Theses. Said no, you can't do that.
You're
and
cutting out.
now the Catholic Church like agrees with Martin Luther. Like there are differences between different like human values. Not everything is just a transaction.
Money.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
again,
Explain
what's
that
the
to this
difference?
crowd.
Like you're just saying like, look, good things as defined by my moral preferences. Therefore, I get to
Correct.
use the power of the state to tell you that you shouldn't do the things that I don't like because my religion says so. And I say to that, fuck off.
Okay. I'll send cops to your house when you start creating Demonculaba.
So
We get it. You're an inherently aggressive individual, but no, you're wrong.
But yeah, Nina,
I'm not.
I don't understand the difference. I'm trying to like pick up where Doopy was going with this. It's like there's all kinds of incentives that you can present to a person, right? Like to be glorified. Like I imagine the monks look at in the church, right? Like, you know, my body be glorified and appreciated in a way that most corpses will never be, right? So that's
To remind
incentive
humans of that they are mortal. That was their purpose.
Memento mori.
Yeah. So like what's wrong with like the incentive of money that could go to help your family, to your children, college fund or whatever it is, right? That could radically advance your
Because
life.
you're probably gonna sign that contract when you're young and you're fucking dumb and you don't give a shit about it, and then you're probably not gonna be able to get out of the contract later in fucking life because
Don't add all that other shit.
and
Hold on,
fucking
don't add any of
Lactoid is
that.
gonna have written it for
Can't-
fucking Doobie and shit.
Yeah,
So
counterpoints.
no, hard pass.
I'm ignoring you.
Counterpoints. Counterpoints. Do you think it's
no,
wrong?
no, no,
Do you
no,
think
no,
it's
no,
wrong?
no, I want to talk to Nina. Nina, I asked the question to Nina. Okay, all right. Look at you, white men, like barging in. Nina, please. Like, what's your response?
Oh my god, I didn't realize I was muted. I was like, are you guys really talking over me like this? Sorry.
They really are.
That was on no, I muted myself, so my bad.
They would have been
But
talking
thank you,
over
thank you,
you
thank you.
anyways.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyways, so the reason I would say that it's different is because the concept of glorification is a personal thing, as much as it could be for other people to some extent. But I think that is not a currency that can be transferred to somebody else. When we're talking about money, somebody could use your body for whatever the fuck they wanted and make money off of it and say they're you, and that's your wishes. Like, I think that's a big difference. We're saying, like, you do not have the same current. If you want your body, you have lived this pious life in this monastery. I want to be buried here. This is what I want. Whether or not there's like some sort of significant glorification of it doesn't really matter because it's for you. And obviously for the monastery.
But the $100,000 I had to give last
it cannot be used as a financial incentive that like finances can be used for like anything, you know?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Like I don't
Well,
understand.
because
Like,
that's not what you want.
Counterpoints.
Wait,
I have a
but
question.
That's what
okay.
I want.
like
Counterpoints.
Well,
I
we're
have a
talking
question.
about the bone turf, right?
Counterpoints.
Those
I just want-
people wanted to be there.
Yeah. Hold on. Just a second.
The Lactoid
Scott,
wants to
I
sell me
promise
his
you, I'm gonna
dead
give you-
ass.
give
Like, what
some
the fuck?
space. I don't understand. I don't understand what
Dude,
why
I don't
you're
like when you're
making
like-
this. I don't understand why you're making this distinction, right?
Because money
you're saying
bad,
that
capitalism evil. That's it.
money bad. It sounds like money bad. But like church stuff good. Like why?
No, I
is
think
it
your
not-
personal wishes is fine. Like if you really want it, I guess like you
my
could like
personal
have the
wish
art.
is
Okay.
for Doobie, who can afford it, to give me $100,000, right? So that
I want to
he
buy
can-
Bitcoin. Fuck, who cares?
He can
Like,
make a
that's my
glory
personal
hole out of my
wish.
asshole after I'm done. That's my fervent wish. Oh my god, don't
I
quote
would
me,
take
'cause
that money,
it'll be used.
100%.
So, but yeah, like
And that's an
my
open
fervent
offer to
wish.
anybody out there.
So then why can't I do that? What's so different by that fervent wish?
Well, for one, I don't think it's good for it, but I could be
He
wrong.
definitely is. He actually is.
But-
Like
okay.
yeah, but yeah.
Because then he's
But
probably
perhaps-
going to be adamantly like wanting you to die.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I
no,
was
no,
gonna say
no.
that.
We,
Because he's not
we
going to
can-
get an ROI until you fucking die, right?
We can put.
So you don't think he
Hold on.
might like try and go out of his way to kill you?
I mean, like try to.
There
go
are
out
other
his
reasons for
way-
that. Like
The contract can get nulled.
What
if
you're
it-
saying,
if-
what you're saying is that like life insurance shouldn't exist, and we shouldn't have life insurance
Right.
policies because
Yeah.
people
right.
might
No, I don't
murder
think
for
that's
life
a
insurance.
life insurance.
that
Yes, that actually was a very predatory way that you should know in the insurance game that we've changed because it was used in that way.
Wait, hold on, but this is actually a good
This actually functions just
wait, hold
like
on,
life
wait, listen,
insurance.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
life
it's-
insurance.
hold on.
Life insurance was used
Some
in that
old
way. We
people-
literally covered this earlier.
Wait, please. Some
Oh my
old
God.
people who don't have any like kids, right? Their kids died or whatever the fuck, or their
Okay.
kids are wealthy, who have life insurance
Sure.
policies
On who?
that they've had their entire on themselves that they've had their entire lives.
Okay.
There are plenty of companies out there or investors out there who will pay them money right now while they're still alive to be a beneficiary of the life insurance policy. Right, with the typically the only trade-off is, hey, you need to make sure that my body is taken care of in this way. So this portion of the money is used for that. But the rest of it, whether it's $1 million or $2 million or whatever the fuck it is, it's yours. Right, but you give me money today. right? Like, so it functions the same way. They get money to do whatever the fuck they want with right now. They live their lives, so they're happy, and then they die, and then the person gets the benefit of their policy. Now, what's wrong with that
Why
kind of
would
system?
somebody?
Okay, so if you're asking me what's wrong with that, chances are there's a bunch of dementia-ridden fucking old motherfuckers who are getting paid pennies on the dollar.
Isn't that what
for their
reverse
fucking-
Dude,
mortgages are?
dude, what? No, stop this. You keep
Or
bringing
that's
up
so-
individuals.
They're old
No,
people.
you keep bringing up individuals that you think can't consent to a contract to invalidate the idea of contracts. Like, it's bullshit. You're like,
Yeah, we
well, it's a
shouldn't have
bunch of
any
young,
contracts
dumb.
ever.
It's some 18-year-old kid. So here's my question to you,
Who's
counterpoints.
doing
Do you
that?
think that it was unethical and wrong for the Marines to exist, and that it's actually a piece of shit institution to sign up
Yes.
18-year-olds to go fight
Yes.
in war? Do you think that as a Marine yourself?
I think it's like a fucked up institution that takes advantage of the naivete of fucking young people, and I would prefer that it was honest about its fucking naivete, but I also think it's socially necessary.
Okay, so it's socially necessary by some consequentialist analysis, so it's okay then, but it's not okay for people to voluntarily sell their bodies because they're young and they totally can't consent to it. Even though one is going to go
Correct.
bomb
Yes,
people
not
and
socially
murder
necessary.
people,
Yes, you're
and then the
right.
other one is an individual that is just freely selling their fucking body for their own personal benefit.
Do you guys consistently feel that
you're
way
right.
about sex work?
You nailed that.
We are
Yes.
very consistent on sex work.
Yeah. I mean,
You're
I
pro
personally
sex
don't
work?
like.
Sex work.
I personally don't like
I'm
sex
incredibly
workers,
anti-sex
but
work.
I don't think that I have any right to stop them.
What? You guys are.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
kind
you're
of.
telling me.
Wait.
Sex work
Hold
is
on, wait.
degenerative.
So Nia,
Anti.
Nina, real quick. So we don't like it. Like it's kind of like gross or whatever. But we would never illegalize it, right?
Yeah,
No, I
we
think
never
most porn
legalize
should be illegal. I think most porn should be illegal.
Doobie,
Yes,
what the
so
fuck?
Doobie's on a whole different
Ilya,
level.
what the
okay?
fuck?
Yeah,
Talking about?
Doobie's a fucking.
This is because I'm a feminist.
Really
Hold on,
making me
hold on. No,
regret
it's
saying
because
that.
I'm a feminist, and I don't like that women are
Yeah, you're a
made into
swerve.
sexual objects in porn.
You're a swerve, which means you're not a feminist.
I'm the most feminist person on this fucking panel right now.
Doobie, do you want to ban gambling? I haven't heard your.
Do I wanna ban what?
Doobie, I thought you were
gambling?
Yeah.
For poor people, I'd have there be like a
What's your cutoff?
a minimum
Yes.
threshold, right? Income threshold.
Interesting.
You got to make
Yeah.
more than 30 grand a year.
See, because
What if I
we've had this
spend
argument before, where
25?
you guys are always coming after my fucking loot boxes and games. I love loot boxes. I buy thousands of dollars of loot boxes in
have
video games, right?
ruined
Shit,
the
for
industry.
shit that I don't even
Doobie.
ever use, right?
Doobie.
I hold on. I got ESO for the weekend. I spent $1,400 in 2 days just buying loot boxes, and then I played it for a week and never touched a game again. Right?
Hey,
And
Doobie.
I had a great time. I had a great
Bring
time.
that
doing
money
it.
to this channel.
Doobie,
It was
Doobie,
beautiful.
Doobie, real
Yeah,
quick.
gift us all
Doobie,
subs to
Doobie.
Prime K's.
Doobie, real quick. So you think that poor people shouldn't be allowed to buy insurance? Why do you think that? Well, that's just gambling,
wait,
right?
what are you talking? No, it's not. Insurance is not gambling.
I mean,
How is it not
It's not-
gambling?
it's not gambling at all.
You're
There-
paying money in case something happens in the
People can't
future.
You're paying for
insurance
access.
anyways.
Okay, you're paying for access to a pool of money.
Pool of assets. Yeah.
Exactly. To ensure that if a thing does happen, you have the ability to pay it off. That is
How
not
is that
gambling.
different than a slot machine? I'm paying access to a
No.
pool of money,
No,
and if I
no,
pull
no,
the
no,
lever,
no,
I
yeah,
might
this
get the
is
money,
very
or I might
specific.
not.
It
You
is gambling.
probably
Yes.
know this from the fucking from the fucking contracts and from the fucking training for that shit. Like you can't technically profit from insurance. Like there's all of these fucking like moral safeguards and ethical safeguards specifically put in place legally to avoid all this shit.
Right.
All-
Hold on. But you
all
can
my-
dodge a
hold on, hold on.
loss.
The
Let me
principle
finish,
is
let me
the
finish.
same.
Let me finish. All of my complaints about the industry, like I'm okay with the idea of insurance and the principles behind it. I just think that the way that it's practically applied by human beings is fucked up. That's
What's
it.
the
Okay,
what's,
does
the what's
anybody-
the functional difference between dodging a loss and profiting?
Dodging a loss and profit?
Yeah.
No,
Like
no, no, no,
philosophically,
you suffer a
what's
loss.
like
this
what's
is why
like,
this is why deductibles exist, by the way.
no.
Does
no,
anybody
no,
know
that's not-
what-
that's not-
is
no,
there a
deduct-
limit?
Deductibles exist to like it's basically an anti-fraud. Like I understand like an anti-fraud component. But my question is like,
It is anti-fraud, but it's also to make sure that fucking people don't profit off of insurance.
oh, okay. So they're not like profiting, but like even absent the deductible, assuming the deductible is not the full amount of the loss, the point of insurance is that you don't suffer the full loss. So my question for you is like philosophically, what's the difference between dodging a loss, like dodging a negative financial event, and
Mhm.
having a positive financial event? I don't see any
I mean,
like,
I think
functional
you're
difference
literally
here.
saying it in your question. Like a positive financial event is positive, and a negative financial event is negative, and you're hedging loss.
But you're dodging a negative financial event.
Bro, we're
No,
on
okay,
the
but
same
in one
right
of
now.
those
So wait,
scenarios,
wait, so
okay,
here's
this
the
is
thing.
like saying, hey,
Why
what's the difference between like
corporations
not
and
losing a
insurance
dollar
was
and
created.
gaining another dollar? Well, shit. In one of those
Right.
situations, you're gaining a dollar that you didn't have before.
Yeah, but if both events happen and you lose a dollar and you gain the dollar, you're exactly where you were.
Do you think you
No,
should
in
These are,
insure?
insurance,
okay,
you will
if these two
always
different,
lose
completely
dollars
different
as the
events happen, yeah,
customer.
you're at the starting
In
point. Okay.
insurance, you will always lose. As a customer, you will always lose money. You will
But-
always suffer a loss.
But
Is
not
there
as
a-
but the whole point is because you're not going to lose as much as you would if the risk event happens. This is why it is gambling. The foundational
Is there
idea
a-
is
Like
it's
asking
gambling.
me a question, but you're answering your question with the question. Like,
Let's
what's the difference
go- let's
between
go
positive
to
and
the
negative?
arguing
That's
against
not true.
Positive and negative.
That's
Aiko,
not
I'm arguing-
true.
I'm making
That's
a
not
point
true.
against
Hey!
it. That's what I'm doing.
Aiko.
Can somebody tell me if there's a limiting? Like, is there a limit to the profit that a casino?
Dude, you're breaking up
You-
because
you-
you're
you
breaking
cut it
up.
out.
Is there a
Yeah,
limited
sorry.
loss
Closer
in the
mic.
casino?
Yeah,
Is
your
there a
your
limited
noise
loss
gate
in the
your
casino?
noise gate is low. So
I
just,
don't.
like, come
I don't
closer
think
to
there
the
are
mic.
Closer.
limits to losses in casinos at all. Yeah.
Okay, so in
And
the
if you get
insurance
banned
industry,
from one, you can go to another one. Yeah.
at least in the health insurance industry, ever since the AC, there's now what they call the 80-20 rule, which is that in health insurance, your gross profit cannot exceed 20%. So anything
Yep.
above that 20% has to go back to
Nice.
right. So that
Nice.
limits the amount of abuse that you right. So is
Bring
in
the
that
mic
way it's a
closer.
little bit different than gambling, right?
That's based. That's completely fucking
so
different. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because
it
there's
makes it
one
that much
specific
less of a
regulation on one other than the other. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean you could
Dozens of
you could
regulations that
similarly
make it
do
fucking-
the same regulation
Wait,
in
yeah.
gambling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
based. Let's
like
do
you
it.
could.
Yeah. Good. Do it.
One, in terms
That
of,
proves it's
I'm getting out to
Right.
the bodies, okay? Like, I don't get this counterpoints. Like,
Uh-huh.
you
Take
could
a leak again.
have the same similar safeguards against abuse, right? Like, obviously, we know there's going to be there's room for abuse in any sort of system like this, right? But you
Sure.
put those safeguards. We're very aware. We're going eyes wide open into what these abuses are going to be, right? And if there's abuses that show up later on, we can legislate against those too. So I get about the principle of it all. The principle,
Sure.
what is wrong with doing this? Well, it's been proposed.
Selling your body or hyper regulating gambling. Which one?
Well, selling bodies, corpses.
So to prohibit abuses of the corpses. Yeah, like I would say if there was like, but then I want Doobie to be able to have his fucking homeless skin house. So I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
I don't
want
know.
it
I
all
don't
or
know. You just kind
want
of
it not
rambled
at
for a
all.
second there. Yes, is the answer like are you for it now or are you against it with all the rules and
Yeah.
regulations?
So okay. So real world, I think that's a fucking horror show. I think it's morally reprehensible. I think people who think this way should be fucking drawn and quartered in the fucking public.
Why do you want to draw and quarter
Not
people
me.
so much? What the fuck's wrong with
It's
you?
just kink, dude.
That's my thing. Your
The
kink
mortar
is
for your
fucking
house.
corpse
He wants to
demonculata.
harvest the
My
organs.
kink is drawn and
Look,
quartering mass shooters.
look, I just want a house made of homeless people that I can raise like adopted children that I've also purchased in.
Okay, but
It's
I
not that
want
weird.
Nick Cruz to basically suffer medieval punishment for what he did in this life. So that,
Reasonable.
we have our
I
kink.
agree that that's reasonable. Okay,
Yeah,
How much would you charge to insure the person house, Doobie?
a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Counterpoints.
So Prime, just to answer your question, the legal prohibitions would basically eliminate the point. That would, for me, it would be like if we're gonna do it, we might as well do it all. And it's kind of like gambling. Like if you had like, oh, you can only gamble $20 if you're like making under 30 grand a year. That's like a fucking dumb rule. Like I wouldn't institute it. We either ban gambling or we don't ban gambling.
Counterpoints. The problem is that you're playing the same game that like pro-choice advocates play when they argue against like pro-life people.
Oh, so you're not
Where-
pro-choice.
I'm an evictionist, and I'm not going to explain that to you. Like,
Cringe.
just
An
not.
evictionist?
Yeah. So, anyways, the problem is that you're engaging in like the same argument where they use the absolute
Too
limit
afraid to
cases,
explain it.
where they're like, what about like when someone is brutally raped, right? When even though we know that like most abortions are due to people just not properly taking care of their birth control, properly engaging in safe sex, etc., and then this occurring. You're doing the same thing with the selling of the bodies, which is that you're using. Hey, Nina, just a second. I'll respond to whatever questions you have later. So, anyways. You're doing the same thing with like Doobie's House of Horror shows. You're falling into this extreme limit case when the fact of the matter is that the ability to sell your organs on a market overwhelmingly will mean that rich individuals will come out of this like mutual aid system and they'll want to purchase organs. And then other poor people will be able to get through college or put a down payment on a house or do other things. And what this actually means is that wealthy people gain the ability to live longer and be productive members, and poor people have the ability to gain new opportunities and not be burdened by whatever financial debts they have, and everybody in society does better. Like, you're using a consequential analysis on the extreme.
Yeah, you're right.
ends.
So yeah, but you just answered your question for me. I want rich people to die and not be able to buy their way out of mortality. And then I want poor people to be forced to engage with the world in such a way that they don't take easy fucking shortcuts in order to stop short-term problems.
Yeah,
and
selling
then they
selling body
have
parts
to
is
work
like easy.
their
Of course.
fucking ass. They have to work their fucking asses off in order to fucking survive, and then maybe make them something.
So
of
just
themselves.
force
Or they
people to
don't
do whatever
make a
you want based
mistake
off
when
of
they're
your
19.
bullshit.
What's
Yeah,
the
you
market
wanna get
value?
people
Unless
to-
they're-
Right,
unless
because
they're
an
monks,
eviction.
in which
You're
case
right.
they
It's
can
all
give
subjective
their body up
morality,
to the
my
church.
morality than yours. Yes, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the market value of a kidney? Does anybody know? I'm
we
not sure
don't-
you're
we
It's
don't-
putting
illegal.
down
It's
payments
Nobody
illegal
now.
to sell that.
Nobody
No,
knows
it's
because it's a black market right now.
Okay, all right. Well, so what's the black market value?
I mean,
Can I
if
just
I
say
had
something
an
really
answer to that
quick?
question, that might be somewhat scary.
Well, evictionist is to believe the advance in technology will continue to improve medical ability to preserve a life living fetus after removal from its mother. So that's what this guy believes in.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
Don't
that's
kill the baby.
sort
Take it
of.
out.
But it's a lot more than that.
I mean, that's literally the definition. So I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I've actually spoken to Dr. Walter Block, who fucking invented this, and,
I don't
and had
give a shit about
intense
Dr. Walter
conversations
Block.
with him.
No,
I know
I'm just
you
saying
don't,
that
but
really
like,
quickly. You like
that's
swerved
not
that idea.
that's not
It's like
exactly right.
pro-choice
It's
life.
more it's more complicated.
Yeah,
No.
but you were too afraid to
It's
even
not
just
wor-
say the quick
I'm not
description. because you
fucking
knew that
afraid.
it
I
was
just
gonna-
don't think you're
Yeah, look,
smart
I
enough
know
to
we're
be able to
afraid
have a
say what you
conversation
think.
with.
Don't lie.
Like, I have no problem explaining evictionism.
Yeah, so
it's
you won't
just
say if
I
you're
don't think you'll
pro-choice or
get
not.
it. No, I'm not pro-choice
No,
or
I
pro-life.
understand
I'm an
that.
evictionist.
You're waiting for some future technology to come out.
He's
No, I'm not waiting for some
essentially
future.
pro-choice,
I'm
yeah.
not waiting for
No,
future
he
technology
won't say
to
it.
come out.
I don't think so. He's saying that he's waiting for technology to come out that will improve the medical ability to preserve a living fetus after removal from its mother.
No, so no.
Look, I understand. I understand that you appreciate Vosh and you get
That's
all
not
your
a
arguments
libertarian
by
value,
a quick
my
fucking
dude.
Wikipedia search, but like you
Do
don't
you hate
understand
weed
evictionism.
too?
and
Like,
I'm
are
not
you just
going
such a
to it.
fucking poser ass libertarian? Like, what are you getting at?
Weed
He
should
is
be
the
illegal.
least poser
Nina,
libertarian.
so
It,
First of all,
Doobie.
one's personal preference towards a
What are you
drug
guys
has nothing to do with
doing?
libertarian philosophy. Number one. Number two, what
Pro-choice
are you
is a
talking about?
libertarian philosophy. What are you talking about?
Trust me, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, well, I could say the same thing to you. Apparently, you don't even know what you're talking about.
It's only libertarian if you
Yeah,
don't
alright,
believe that
Brian,
the child
at
is
the
like a
risk-
human
at the
being
risk
with
of
bodily
derailing
autonomy.
this shit. Yeah, exactly. Like
Oh,
at the risk of
derailing
derailing
this? No,
shit,
that's fine.
At what
Oh.
at what fucking point does a human being become a human being, Nina?
Human being because a human being. There's a lot of that's more of a philosophical question. What are you trying to
yeah,
say? More of a
there's
metric of like. I mean,
It is
if you want me to
philosophical.
ask about like actually like if they can survive on their own, without like being
What-
attached to somebody.
What?
All right, so
What
22
does
weeks.
Anya
I don't-
say?
can an infant survive on its own?
Yeah.
Is it attached to somebody?
At some
Physically?
period of time.
What
Well, I
do you
mean,
mean
that
by
was her-
human beings and
She
what
put
is
that in the
not?
definition, though. She said without being attached to someone.
Yeah,
That was,
but what do
that
you
was
mean by
her definition.
attached? So pretty much it
So
seems
we
like
can
I mean,
kill born
literally
babies
physically attached.
so long as we haven't
So
cut
you're-
the
by the
umbilical
way-
cord
Yeah,
yet.
they cut the-
Right? Like you can just fucking
It's a
By the way,
axe
umbilical
them.
cord, you fucking
By the
assholes.
way-
You know what I'm saying.
By the way, you're an evictionist now because that means that like babies can be like viable after 22 weeks. So after 22 weeks, you wouldn't abort it. You would just evict the mother, then you would stick him in medical shit in order.
No, I
to-
didn't say that at all.
So you're an evictionist.
Maybe
too.
I would want to keep a baby to term.
Wikipedia,
Why would I want them to
Google
be
it.
evicted? If I
You
wanted
and
to have a
Scott are on
baby,
the
why
same
would I be an
team.
evictionist, bitch?
Wait, what?
What?
Why would I be an evictionist?
Yeah, get fucked, Connor.
If you didn't want a baby?
No, if I wanted to have a baby, keep it in my body, do the whole
Uh-huh.
9 yards, 9 months, whatever. Why would I be an evictionist?
Nina, do you feed
Yeah, Connie,
yourself,
you
or does
fucking
someone
idiot.
have to feed you? Like, do you have like an in-home like care?
Don't
Or
listen
do
to
you
Scott.
feed
He's
yourself?
just being mean
Are you
because
trying
you
to be like
destroyed
a weird joke? Because that's not even a good premise for it.
It was
Oh,
coherent.
fuck.
Okay, listen. All right, Nina, it was a coherent rebuttal. I tip my fucking imaginary fedora to you. Fuck off.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Can
you.
I just say,
will
asking
tip
whether
my
it's
imaginary
human is the
story
wrong
back.
question anyway?
Nobody can hear you
Uh,
because your
the
gate
point
is open
is-
and you
Oh
keep
my
pushing
God.
the
Your
mic
dude.
farther
You-
away.
Like,
Let me hear any of
Closer.
that. Ico.
Am I still too close?
closer to
Not
your mic.
farther away.
Wait, I thought I was cutting off because I was too close to the mic.
No, you're too far.
Everyone turned. They were telling me to turn off.
How does that
okay,
make
alright.
sense?
I thought you were doing that on purpose. It's like, the fuck you got?
No, I told you. No, because someone said I should mess with my noise gate because I was cutting off.
That means
So
you're
that that meant I was.
Okay,
but
why
I'm
would
interested-
pushing the mic further
I'm-
away make it
Okay.
easier to hear you?
I'm interested in what
Really?
you said in terms of like the
It
question.
meant
of
that
whether
I
it's
wasn't clicking off my noise gate.
Jesus Christ.
All right. Okay.
It's
Never mind.
okay.
I'm gonna get close to it.
Yes.
I'm always close to my mic
Y'all are-
usually.
Okay,
Okay.
hold on. Rich, I have to defend your honor real quick. Nina and Prime Kai, y'all are being fucking bitches, okay? Prime, you know that for 6 months, I was on here breaking out every fucking 30 seconds and fucking plugging in my internet and unplugging it and all that kind of shit, and it ended up being a fucking Discord noise gate setting. We're all boomers at heart. Show some grace.
Whoa, hold on.
No,
yeah, but
I'm a
somebody
boomer
said it was
too with this
okay.
shit. I'm just appreciating how funny it is that
I-
he's moving it
that's
away
fine.
from him.
I thought he was saying,
Well, I think it's
"Fuck
funny
you"
too.
to all of us.
All right, Rich, I defended your honor. Go
Listen,
ahead.
okay. Here's my only point. The question isn't whether it's human, because it's always human. It's always alive, like from the beginning. The question is, when does it become a person? And that's
Yeah,
when
for sure.
Zeno's paradox comes in place. Like, there's always a point at which you can interpret that, okay, now it's finally gained personhood or whatever. And that's always where the difficulty is with these questions. It's not
Yeah,
about,
we-
like,
Personhood. Yo, personhood
it triggers
is
the fuck out
scary
of me
as
when
fuck.
people talk
Ground.
about when does it become a human, because obviously it wasn't a goat, it wasn't a chicken, it's always
Okay,
been
but-
human.
But
always
but
a
if,
human.
but if whether or not it's human, doesn't matter, and we're engaged in personhood, then like you could very quickly get into the argument of like
that they're not a
killing
person
1-year-olds.
alive. Yep, exactly.
that's like you do not want to
I
go
understand,
there.
But that's
There is
Well,
a
no,
philosopher
but that's
who
still
argues,
the question.
Peter Singer, right? I'm pretty sure.
well,
he
now who's the
argues-
consequentialist.
I'm familiar with Peter Singer. It's not.
Peter
I
Singer
finally
says you
lived
can
long
eat
enough for
2-year-olds,
Fabian
I'm pretty
to give
sure.
a
no, he doesn't.
I think he does.
So,
Those
Alright.
are abortion.
Why-
I think
why
it's
not?
pretty easy.
Tonight has been
As long
such a
as they
fucking
can
shit show of
survive
arguments. Why
without
not?
being literally attached.
Don't make
to
me pull my
somebody.
mic away.
I think that's fine.
Bunch of fucking savages.
but okay, all right. Well,
Wait, what about conjoined twins? Are conjoined twins either of them a person?
Not
How many
either of them
persons are
person.
they?
I mean, are they getting their nutrients
Starting to
from
wonder if
each
any of
other,
you
and
are
that's the only way they're able to exist? Like,
Yeah, the only way they're able to exist is by like being attached to this other person.
because they're sharing the
Yeah,
same
they're
digestive
two
system or
persons.
something.
Yeah. Are either of them persons? under
okay,
this
but are they
definition?
getting nutrients from another being besides like the one
Yes.
that they're
Sure,
directly
yes.
getting? Like,
Well,
their
yeah,
mother?
what if one conjoined twin like has the digestive system, the other one doesn't?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that
That's got nothing
is
to
the
do
other
with
person
That
a
shit's
person?
real.
Hey, listen, this whole idea of being able to survive has nothing to do with personhood. It's a totally separate question.
That was your
True.
Roe
definition.
v.
That's
Wade
fair.
specifically talks about that so that they could avoid the question.
I just
of
want her to answer
personhood.
the question though.
Roe v. Wade is
if other
bad
people-
law in this
If
country.
the
now.
other twin
I'm
has the
just-
digestive system, right, and the
Okay.
other one doesn't, and gets all the nutrients, is the other twin a
If
a
they
human?
could not survive without each other, then I would say they are one being.
No. The one can survive, right? But if you cut off the other one because they use their digestive system, then
Mhm.
they are dead, right? So
Is that possible? I've never really heard of
Yeah.
any successful.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It
Yeah,
happens.
so are they a person? Like if they can talk to you, like full cognition?
got
yeah, their
brain.
brain is
but
all
they can
dead.
only survive off of their conjoined twins' digestive tract. Under your definition, they wouldn't be a person, right?
Off of okay, so one is like only aping off of the other.
Yeah.
It's like two separate brains, okay, two separate consciousnesses, but like down in the torso, it's like it's like a shared GI tract, and they're like so it's got a
There's a
Be
whole
owned by
reality
someone.
show about
Well, this-
a pair of twins that are like that.
This is why I'm an
That's an
evictionist,
interesting
because you can just
question.
get rid of that other person and it doesn't matter that they die.
That's not.
It's
kind of a horrible
Don't
person.
distract.
Stop.
Nina. What like if the scenario that we presented to you?
Okay.
Is the subservient twin here, right? The one who doesn't have a digestive tract of their own. Are they a full person?
I will say
Definitionally
that
not.
I think that it's probably bad form but to have consistent
Why are we
in my
entertaining
ideology,
this
I would
fucking
say
high
if the
school
one
ethics
twin that is doing
class
all
to
of
this
the
one
work
girl?
does not want the second twin
What is happening?
attached to them anymore, that they probably do have the right to have that removed.
No, hold on. Are the other person? Hold on. I loaded that question.
Why
Is that
are
other-
we in
is
a
that
high
other-
school ethics class right now?
No, no,
She
I
doesn't
wanna
get
know,
it.
I
Move
wanna-
on.
Yeah, I
Is
know
this
you
other-
want to talk.
is
I
the
get
other,
it.
the other,
Fine,
the
you
other,
son of a
the other,
bitch.
or the other organism. Is that a person? I know you think you can cut them off, but like, if they are they a person?
I thought we were talking about. Wait,
Are
you're
they-
just saying it as a person?
Are they a person?
Is it
Are they
one vote or
both-
2 votes?
Yeah.
That's
That's
a
a
great way of
complicated
putting
thing
it,
because
Corey.
I would say like,
Nice.
yeah, there's so many ethical things that would come up with that. So I feel like that's like what you're trying to do with the gotcha. But if I'm being good faith in my answering this, so hopefully you're not going to be annoying about it. But I would
I'm not
say
shy, no.
that, again, as I said to beginning with, I think if that the main caregiver does not want, or like the person that they're
Not
getting all
one.
their
not
nutrients
one, not
from.
one. Just like, are they a person?
Are they a
Like,
person?
You count them.
Are
they
You
a
count
vote
them
or
both in
vote?
the census. It's all I wanted
On a
want you to
census?
tell me.
I don't know how the legal right
all
would
right.
go with that.
So you have a
I'm
con-
not
you have conjoined
knowing,
twins,
like,
right? Is that one person or
If
two
I had
people?
to ask, I would assume that they were one person because we could only
Wait,
survive
a
off of
conjoined-
one digigestive system.
Wait.
We don't
Okay, I
have
think you
all
answered
of the
the
body
question.
parts
You're
as a
shoehorning it into the
separate
definition.
entity.
Yeah. Now
Are you talking about just being a person? Then yeah, I would say they're one person.
Is this a comedy bit right now? Or are we serious?
Wait, hold on. So a conjoined
I'm
twin,
laughing, so.
two. So they have two heads, two brains.
brains.
That's one person.
If one could not survive without the other,
Yeah.
I would say so.
Oh.
They're-
I
Do you have an
think
argument
you
against
probably
that,
gotta-
or are you just gonna like scoff?
Yeah, they have
Still,
two
that-
brains. They have
that-
two.
Yeah.
They have two moral
Two different
consciences.
personalities, two different consciousness.
That
okay.
floating Walt Disney head, that's not a person anymore.
Aiko, so come in and I get your hands up, right?
Well, I just these things are settled. Like these aren't questions. These aren't particularly thorny questions. Like
This is so
what's
wild.
thorny is like whether or not one has the right to live, like at the expense of that. That's certainly a thorny question.
Right.
But personhood is not in question. I mean, these are these are two people who can talk
So what's
to you.
the
who can
definition of
each-
personhood?
well, I mean, the definition of personhood would be an intelligent organism that can, like, interact with the world around it. I suppose.
Boom. Dogs
But-
are
but
people.
that doesn't
Everybody
mean
who
that
doesn't
you
think
can
dogs
interact
themselves are fucked
independently.
up.
I'm sorry?
Personhood. No, you need to add the fact that they can make valid moral propositional statements. Potentially, if you're an
no,
objectivist,
I wouldn't.
potentially
No, I
if you're an
wouldn't say that.
objectivist, you might add the ability to.
Babies are
create-
not
None of you
God.
can do
I
that,
wouldn't
so I don't
say
know if that
that. I
works.
wouldn't say that. I mean, certainly, like if you're an infant,
Right,
Yeah.
but you can
can't make
extend
those
you can no it's a Bayesian inference, right? Like you can extend personhood to humans with human DNA. Upon the fact of emergent properties that they will gain personhood, you can extend those rights to that because of speciation to that category.
So you're
And
making
that
an
actually
okay.
kinda
So
does
you're
solve
making an essence
vegetables, by the way.
sort of distinction.
I mean, yeah,
Which
there's
I
a lot of
suppose,
problems
yeah,
there,
that's
but
true.
whatever.
Like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, in which case I would agree. But one thing that personhood does not rely is independence from some other like entity or being. Like,
Yeah, of course not.
if you are suddenly find yourself attached to an
Right.
iron lung, you don't stop being a person at that point, right? If you're a conjoined twin, you don't have to say that one of them is a person and the other one isn't, or that the two of them together somehow are only one person. Those are questions that are less thorny. Like, I think we can say that. Now, whether or not someone is personhood based on potential alone is a different question, right? Like, because that would assume that you're a potential, like, as soon as sperm joins egg, which I would not say is the case. I would think there would be need to be some sort of brain activity at the very least for me to in an objective scientific sense begin to think about assigning personhood to something.
That happens real early, though.
All right. So,
It could be. I think that's where our Zeno's paradox comes in, right? There's a certain discrete point at which it happens, and it's really hard to say where that discrete point. Corey could answer to
Oh.
that probably more than anybody.
I would like to, but yeah, I'll stop.
It doesn't make sense on the capitalist perspective.
if you all right, Corey, educate the class, and then we'll move
Well,
on.
no, I'm not. Yeah, it's
Oh.
because I was gonna pose the question to Scott because presumably based off what I understand, like an embryo is a person, but that's a whole separate.
Okay, yeah.
conversation.
All right,
No.
so then let's.
And
But
it
it would
is
be emergent
distinct human
property.
DNA that we extend
Yeah.
the rights of personhood to.
He's extending moral consideration because it will become the thing, not because it is the thing.
What if we
And I
know? What if we
agree
know
with
that
that
it
much.
won't?
Yeah, but that's the thing of like.
Then you can answer that question where, with like, for instance, if there's a
Doesn't matter.
non-viable embryo, you wouldn't treat it as a person.
Well, hold on.
Because
What
it's
if
not
what
the
if
thing.
what if we like, let's say it was like a kid with like Tay-Sachs, where we know they're gonna die by 2 years old. Is that not a
Yeah.
person now?
I'm still an
Then we're just
evictionist,
doing-
right? Like I still extend those rights to the kid with Tay-Sachs. You can evict it, and it doesn't matter if it dies from eviction, but you don't have the right to
Yeah, and
dismember
it's kind of like the
and
seahorse.
pull apart a human.
No,
a
you
human
know
being.
you're doing the same thing, Scott, that we were laughing about. So I'm not asking about what you can or can't do to it. I'm saying
Mhm.
you're saying like an Bayesian inference here, like because it will grow up to have this, we're going to extend the rights.
It
to
belongs to a category of a species that has personhood.
By what
Period.
virtue?
Why are we
Then
claiming
an
the whole
embryo-
category
then
of
it-
species?
Yeah, then an embryo is a person. By
No,
belonging to that.
I'm not saying that
He's
it is a
answered this.
person. It belongs to a category of which we extend the rights of personhood to. By having
Because it
distinct
will
human
become the
DNA.
thing.
Yeah, so you're saying it will be a person, so we treat it as a person, is what I'm
Why,
understanding.
wait, why couldn't
I don't know how many
extend
times I have to repeat this. I'm not
Yeah, no,
saying
you're-
that. What I'm
you're
saying
repeating- you're
is that it
repeating it.
belongs to a category
Yes.
of which we extend that
Well,
that
okay.
it, of
By-
which
by
we
what-
extend
okay.
personhood to. But that doesn't mean that it has attained personhood.
Sure.
This is
Yeah,
the only,
like-
this is the only way you can get around not murdering fucking toddlers.
Wait, couldn't you
Yeah.
just extend the
Literally.
category to like mammals? Like, why are you limiting it just to?
Because of
I would-
speciation.
Yeah.
Go read
I-
go
dude,
read
I
like
would
go
extend
go
it.
read about speciation.
Okay, we got it.
Because then we get into an argument of like name the trait, right?
This
And
is
then
an-
it becomes a whole
It's a
different
good
thing.
question. Yeah.
Let's
It's
table this. We can, if we want, we can have a personhood discussion next week, right? If you guys got so much to say about that, we can do it next week.
Thank you for watching. If you made it all the way through this video, then you've got to like, share, and subscribe. Over 70% of you watching aren't subscribed, and it really helps. We're live on Twitch every Monday through Thursday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. And follow us on Twitter for more spicy libertarian takes. Finally, we all know that YouTube is a temporary place for dissidents. One day we'll upset the wrong journalists and be gone. Poof. But it doesn't have to be that way if you make sure to follow us on Rumble. Every video on YouTube is also posted to Rumble, and sometimes we exclusively stream there. Thank you for your time. All links are in the description below.